Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the show today. Very happy to have you here with us. We're going to be talking about various entertainment news, as we always do, and having a chuckle, whether just simply because it's fun or because it's stupid. Either way is good enough for me. I am sitting here with a nice hot cup of coffee and friends, of course, but it's raining. It's a
It's
very
raining.
rainy
Is it
day.
raining men or is it just raining?
Well, if it was raining men, I think I would prepare for the apocalypse. But um, no, it's just a wet day. It was raining much harder last night, so it's just kind of overcast. But I prefer the sunnier days.
Sunny days.
Yes, sunny days.
I
But
prefer sunny, cool days. Like
oh,
I
me
don't mind the
too.
sun being out. I like the sun,
Yeah,
but I don't like that heat. That heat's nonsense. Get that heat out of here.
I
Bring in that
agree.
nice, cool 60, 70-degree temperature, and everybody's all right.
Yeah, well, you
It's
wouldn't
all
want to
good.
live where I live. You would
I
die.
don't,
You
because it's
would
a
die.
it's a jungle down there, isn't it? Are you in the
Literally.
tropical parts?
Well, I guess I would be on the edge of it. So let's call
Yeah.
it the extremities of the subtropical. Let's call it that. But yes, no. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely no. But I chose it on myself. Not only did I put
You did.
myself in a hot environment, I put myself in a culture which I don't know and a language I had to learn, and as well as a place that wants to kill me constantly with earthquakes and tsunamis,
Yeah.
and
And
uh,
volcanoes occasionally. The
and the
occasional volcano.
and the volcanoes. That's
Yeah.
true. So it's my own damn fault, Thundero.
Listen, Yahweh's up there. He's like, why are you people still living there? I've sent everything, and
Yes,
you persist.
it's true. We
Why?
we we are stubborn. That is true. And the funny thing about it is, I've actually. I've actually posed this question to Japanese themselves. It's like, this place wants us dead, right? And they're all like, yeah, yeah, yeah. They all agree. Everyone agrees this place wants us dead. And I'm like, why do we live here? Why don't we move? We could take the entire population of Japan, make a deal somewhere, and relocate to a beautiful, safe place. And with the absolute engineering capability of the Japanese, we could make it a frickin' paradise. No one bites. They're not interested. They'd rather
I've
sit
often
here
said
and die.
we could make a great deal with the Japanese people. We take the population of Japan and the population of California, and we just switch them.
Oh God, that would
And
be
then
great.
all the Californians can just be there, and all the Japanese can be here, and everybody'd be happy.
Japan's about the same size as California too.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then maybe you could go to California and not have to walk around crack needles all the time. Maybe you
Well,
could actually enjoy the
that
most
would be
beautiful
an
state in the
improvement.
country.
True, but
Yeah.
the problem is you'd be going from earthquake zone to earthquake zone.
Well, but they're used to it, you see. That's the thing.
That's
They're
no,
already
it's not. It's
adapted.
the opposite of the point. Yeah. But nevertheless, welcome everybody. Hopefully, you'll hit that like share button, which I have just done. Please do so. Let everybody know we're on, so they come and join us. You guys know how my schedule is, and I am in the thick of it. That's for damn sure. But I'm doing my best, so I'm glad I could be here today. But nevertheless, we do got a lot of interesting things to talk about. Of course, it's you know not really important stuff. I mean, mainly on this show, when we're talking about entertainment stuff, I mean, who really cares? I mean, it's not
Yeah.
important to the world because there are very important things going on. And
You know.
I try to keep you guys up to date when you ask questions and stuff. But I'm actually going to offer information without request.
Uh-oh.
Uh oh.
That's dangerous.
Well, no, because I've been kind of slow rolling some information here over the past few years, right?
Hmm.
And like everyone was going on about Russia, 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 and oh my God, look how weak their army is. Look how horrible. And I kept saying, guys, they haven't even started fighting yet,
That's right.
right? I mean, they haven't even sent their army in yet. You know that, right? Right? Putin is desperately trying not to make war on the Ukrainians. I mean, he's really doesn't want to. I keep saying this, right? I mean, you've been here, you've witnessed it.
Oh,
Uh,
I witnessed it. I am a
yeah,
witness to it.
you are. And then finally, Russia was like, well, fuck it, we have no choice but to go to war. And of course, that's what the West wants. So, what it took day and a half to completely cripple the Ukrainian infrastructure? Less than that,
Yeah.
really.
I I tried to tell. I was telling people too, and they didn't want to listen. that you think, you don't have to like Russia, and I don't particularly like the government of Russia. I think they're douchebags. But
Sure.
they're Russians, guys. Like it's the jingoism. It's this weird like, huh, screw the communist thing that a lot of people have, even though they're not communists anymore. Uh, these people have forgotten who the bear is,
Oh yeah, they
and
have.
they're going to learn now. I think we're going to have to learn that you don't mess with the bear. It never works out well for whoever messes with the bear. The
Sure.
only time it works out is when they're being stupid communists and they attack other countries that are also of the bear, like the Finnish. You don't mess with them either. You just leave them alone.
Hmm.
They're not going to do anything crazy up there in Finland. They're going to stay there.
Yeah, but
But
you
you
just
don't
leave
mess
them
with them.
alone. That's true. You leave
Just leave them alone.
don't wake that bear.
No.
Uh, but
Mm-mm.
um,
Mm-mm.
but anyway, I just been watching the absolute nonsense, unfold, and all of the kind of silly things that are going on there. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but I'm gonna be. I know a lot of people is like we don't know who, but no, the Americans.
Yeah.
Sent their proxies, I'm sure, and tried to blow up the Turkish pipeline because see,
Mm-hmm.
every time they try something against Putin, he's prepared. You see,
Yeah.
he's been working on
Done his
this for
homework.
quite a while. Yeah,
Mm.
and so he said, "All right, you take out Nord Stream the 1 and 2, which you got one back up. The Germans are still being thick-headed." He planned for it. He's like, "All right, well, I'm going to send all my fuel down to Turkey, and then Turkey is going to supply Europe, and I'm going to make tons of money." And that's what they're doing. But somebody, big air quotes, tried to blow up the Turkish oil line. They failed, however. They got caught. Yeah, interesting. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about, though.
Mm.
Mm. Do you know what Joe
Uh-oh.
Biden did real quiet? No one and nobody in America is talking about. I mean, not even Tucker Carlson is talking
Oh
about.
boy.
So quiet. He sent out a memorandum. All people living in China, if you work, meaning if you have a job, you will lose your American citizenship. Now, I don't know that that's even legal. I don't know that he can actually do that. But we've seen on many occasions that Biden, or at least the people puppeting Biden, don't care about what's legal and not, do they? Right?
It seems such.
Very clearly they don't. But nevertheless, he has done this. And what has this forced? It has forced every single American company to shut down and leave China. Now, have you heard a word about that?
Nope.
A single peep. That's pretty big news, wouldn't you say?
You'd think it would make the news somewhere in America, but that is the first I've heard of it. Um,
Yes.
if that is something that's possible,
Well, it is.
which
It is happening. Yeah.
yes, I don't think the president is supposed to have this authority, but let's just give it to him for now. I just want to know why Trump didn't do exactly that.
Well, because it was illegal, and we can see right now that Trump did nothing illegal. They've been desperate to get him for what, 6 years? They've been
Yeah,
trying everything
probably
they
longer
can.
than that, actually, but at least 6 years for
Yeah,
sure.
and they can't find a single thing, because Trump was very clever and stayed on the edge, right?
Yes.
Biden's administration just simply doesn't care. But you got to understand that that is a major, major thing, and it's all coming underneath this, the superconductor, semiconductor chips and all those kind of things, which
Mhm.
America is trying to bring into themselves, which to me is a sign that the Democrats are just simply abandoning Taiwan.
Yes.
But nevertheless, because Taiwan is the biggest creator of those. But China
Well,
desperately needs them. See, it's very
yeah.
important to China that they have these kind of chips, these microchips for technologies. They're desperate for it. As a matter of fact, their deal with Russia is very, very much built upon it. See, Russia is just full of incredible material wealth, right? Their material resources, mineral particularly, is very, very important. And China doesn't have that. You see, but China does have a lot of these chips, which they can trade with Russia. And that's kind of at the economic heart of the deal between Russia and China. But and all the other conversations about both of them moving their populations onto the gold standard, which they've been doing for quite a while. Now, here's a very interesting thing. A little bill came up in the Congress the other day, just literally a few days ago. And very quietly, no one talked about it. No media is on it. You know what that bill is, and it's going through. We haven't it isn't passed yet, but it looks like it will. Do you know what it says?
Mm.
America is going to go back onto the gold standard. Now, we
Now
haven't
wait
been
a
on the
minute.
gold standard since Nixon. Understand that. That's
How is that
interesting.
possible?
I don't know that it is because I think there's a lot of conspiratorial evidence to show that America has no gold at all.
Not only that, I mean, the reason why we were able to be on the gold standard before is because an ounce of gold was fairly comparable to a dollar or multiple dollars. Now, it's insanity. An ounce of gold is, I think, 1,600 and some change.
No, 2,500 right now.
Yeah, okay, 2,500.
I know because I
So,
moved all my stuff onto gold.
exactly. So, my point is, how are we going to do that and still keep ourselves, well, not completely and utterly bankrupt? Because if we go back to the gold standard now with the debt that we have, we're going to have to default on everything. There's
Yeah.
not enough gold in the world to cover our debt. It doesn't exist. At least
Well,
that not that we know of, unless they know something we don't, and there's more gold out there than we know.
oh, there
Right
is.
now,
Yeah,
there's
there
not
is.
enough gold in the world, and there's definitely not enough gold in America to cover the debt.
Well, actually, because with the gold, I'm not back. I mean, I have some money, and it's not like I have much money anyway. It's for me, it's more of a pose or a play, really.
Mm,
Although I did put some money directly in gold. Mainly, I back companies that fund gold, digging. Right,
mm,
go getting it. But that's not really what I wanted to get to. What I wanted to get to was this: is it possible? No, because we know the people in charge are not these politicians; they're bankers and such, right?
hmm
Is it possible that there's some deep, I'd hate to use the word shadow, but some deep shadow play here where America, Russia, and China are actually working together?
Yes, that's very possible. It depends on which level of conspiracy theory you want to believe. If you want to, there are people who believe that we've always been working together because the people above them are
Mhm.
pulling all the strings.
Well, I know during the
Uh,
Cold War we were definitely working with the Russians. That's definitely true.
100%. I mean, we kept sending them billions of dollars all the
Oh
time.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
why
yeah.
would
We
we
were
do that to
definitely
our so-called enemy?
yeah, because we
Um,
wanted that to the public to be afraid, right? So I
yes.
mean, that's definitely we know that's true, but that's all come out after. And WikiLeaks actually had some of that stuff in it too.
Yep.
And of course, Assange has been gut, and he's done now, which is kind of ridiculous. I mean, what did he do illegal? Really, nothing.
He made them look foolish.
He did,
That's it.
and he did his job as a journalist. But that's a whole nother. I'm not getting going down that frickin' rabbit hole. But it's just a lot of very interesting things because I pay attention. I sit back and take a look, and I have a comprehensive life of study that allows me to connect dots. You know what I mean? I mean,
Hmm
you got to put the work in, right? And man, it's not like I've been immune to the concept of conspiracy theories. I find them entertaining, but this is beyond that. This is more of, could this really be, right?
Right.
Because it looks on its surface as if there is war coming and there's disagreement, but the reality is, if all of this works out the way it's kind of leaning, it just absolutely buries the Europeans, dude. That's what it does. Because other than Japan, who's just kind of sitting there, there is no other country on the planet that can really compete with those big three, right?
hmm
Except Europe. And I'm just wondering if this is a play to simply pull the guts out of Europe and just absolutely cripple them.
Well, if it is, it's working. The
It is.
Europeans
It is.
apparently just do not want to survive. There's no other explanation for the way the EU has been acting, and especially most of the countries in Europe, which is why you're seeing right-wing governments pop up now, and they're winning in pretty big numbers in a lot of these countries now.
They are. Yeah.
Because
Maybe a little too
the
late,
belief
though.
is, well, yeah, but the belief is that those are the opposition to the globalists of the EU. And maybe they are, I don't know. But it doesn't matter. because the EU is, I would say they're suicidal. I really don't know what they're doing, and I don't think they know what they're doing. I hope they don't know what they're doing. I hope it's incompetence and not malice, because the moves, especially like Germany, which I mean, let's be honest, Germany is the EU. Their moves just make absolutely no sense. Even in
Yeah.
the face of Trump telling them this makes no sense, what are you doing? They still persisted, and it doesn't make any sense. The only way you would tie your energy, the most important infrastructure piece, there is not one that's more important than energy.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's true.
The only way you would tie that to a foreign country by over 70% is if you're stupid. I mean, if you're a country that doesn't have a choice, that's one thing. But Germany has multiple choices,
They do.
and they
They
chose
do.
this.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Yeah.
There's no way to rationalize that intelligently in your brain other than they want what's happening. They want to be crushed.
It seems, and of course, that's another thing you're seeing in the streets is Germans are actually marching in the streets protesting. You don't see
Yeah.
that, guys. We haven't seen
No.
that since World War, since the 30s, right?
Right.
It's the Germans just aren't that type. Their brain doesn't work like that. But they're
Hmm.
literally thousands. And it's not a couple here or there. Thousands and thousands of Germans are marching in the street against the government, demanding that they start making deals with Russia. Right?
Yeah.
This is what the German people are saying. It's really interesting because it's super, super hot right now. My God, is it hot? It's way hotter than you think it is.
Yep.
But I just kind of wonder if there isn't some play here underneath. I don't know why it's nagging at me, dude. That the Americans, the Russians, and the Chinese are simply carving the planet up.
Well,
That
let's
they've made
hope.
a deal.
To be completely honest, let's hope because the alternative is thermonuclear war.
I don't think that's ever going to come. I mean, we might see a little
I do.
tack drop here or there, but we're not going to see
I
any of
think
those
what you'll
Saint
see
twos
is
flying.
the moment one power has the ability to eliminate the threat of nukes or at least greatly reduce it in the air, truly, that's when you'll see it back on the table. The
Yeah,
only reason
that's
it
fair.
doesn't now is because of mutually assured destruction, but we don't know what we have. Maybe we have that already. Maybe that's why Biden's so like, fuck them. Because we have it and they just don't talk about it, which I mean,
Maybe
of course, why would you talk about it?
it's possible.
Um, because that's the only thing that makes sense, unless, like you said, they're working together. The only other, the third option is just gross incompetence globally, which
Well, see, that's possible too, though, because there's some real winners in charge of countries right now,
that's what I'm
right?
saying. I mean, honestly, and it's not because I like the guy's policies per se or I want to live under him. One of the most competent leaders is Putin. He's just
You know, he is.
very good at his job.
Well,
Uh,
and it's
the rest
also
of them, whew,
yeah, no, and with Putin also, and of course, this is just political rhetoric going on. I mean, you have to respect the man in some ways. You can dislike him in others, that's fine. But
yep,
you have to keep in mind, no matter how much the media tells you, the Russians love him. They love
yep,
him. You know how we had all this nonsense where they said the Russians have called up a draft? No, they didn't. That's a straight lie, right? They didn't do
yep,
that. What they did was they called up 300,000 reservists,
right.
soldiers,
That's
because they have a huge mammoth. What is that army? 20 million people or something like that. Uh,
yeah,
but
it's
uh, but
huge.
but it's not active, right? Of
Right.
course, they can't afford that kind of stuff. Russia is, and the Russian people understand that. They are people who know how to take, one step at a time. That's who the Russians really are, right? But so there was no draft whatsoever. They simply called up 300,000 soldiers to get ready. That's it. They also said people are fleeing from the country. Oh my God! And I remember even seeing one video from what CNN or MS, some dumbass. I think it was from the BBC originally, showing a line of people leaving the country. Look, they're all leaving. That line is there every day. That is a trade line that goes between Russia and Kazakhstan. Right.
Yeah.
It's the complete bullshit because not only have the Russian people not fled, we have had, and I checked this like quite a while ago. At the within just a couple of days of the call up for it, you had over 70,000 young Russian men sign up voluntarily. Right.
Jeez.
So I mean, if you look at the spirit in Russia, of course, they're not hurting economically either. It's nothing as what you think it is, and Putin has tried his best not because he didn't want to go to war with Ukraine. He didn't want to do that, but his hand has been forced, maybe, or maybe this is just some big con that we're all part of. I don't know.
Could be.
But
Okay.
damn, dude.
Here's what I do know is honestly, the only two, there's only really three places, well, really two, in Asia that the West needs to be concerned about, in my opinion. And what I mean by concerned about is actually do something to protect. Taiwan, simply because they make all of our chips, and Japan, because they're Japan and they're our ally. And they're also a very powerful economic force. Losing them to China would be madness, which isn't going to happen. But let's say it did, right?
Mm,
So, as far as if China took the East, which they've pretty much already done, and had it under its umbrella of control, I really don't see that as a bad thing. Same with if Russia takes Central Asia, which they pretty much already have,
Wish they
and
have.
lock it down under their umbrella of control, again, not a bad thing. And if America takes the Atlantic, which we pretty much already have with NATO, and
Right.
make sure, because here's what we know.
We're
Here's what,
invading Haiti right now, by the way. Did you know that?
of course we are. Here's what gives a big credibility to what you're saying. The EU has been very open, which is one of the reasons Brexit happened, about wanting to form a military, an actual military in the European Union, the EU army.
Yeah.
They want to actually turn this into a nation state similar to every other nation state, a federation like
Yeah.
Russia or America,
Right.
or even really China to some degree. They want to do that so then they can have their own actual defensive force, and then build up a military of their own. Obviously, because that's just preferable than having being our client state effectively. Maybe this is a play to stop that from happening. Maybe they're trying to cripple their economy enough that it's just not possible. They just can't do it because the American empire, which is exactly what it is, has had for decades now basically complete hegemonic control over all the oceans
Yeah, we have.
and
That's true.
control over Europe. Pretty much everybody's either a member of NATO or kneels before NATO when told to. So I don't think, I would say if anything, if it's not some big globalist conspiracy, which is very possible, it could simply be an imperial conspiracy between the actual
Yeah,
only imperial powers,
that's what I
like you were
meant.
saying.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I meant. And Roger, to answer your question, I say Japan takes Spain. I mean, Spanish ain't doing anything good with it.
so that's actually true. They haven't done anything with that peninsula in 600 years. It's been a while since Spain's mattered as a country on the grand stage.
It's true. It is true. And all that gold they pulled out of the Americas and they were instantly bankrupt because
Yeah,
it went into greedy pockets and, stuff like that. And then it brings you to the question of how in the hell could Mexico possibly be as poor as it is? How in the hell is that? They have an
question.
ocean on each side. They're full of
Yeah,
natural resources. It should be
yeah,
one of the richest country on the earth, but yet it's one of the poorest. I mean,
that's right.
you know what it is? It's freaking IQ is what it is.
Well, that's a big part of it. It's also us uh, with the cartels
With the
that
bigger
definitely don't serve
IQs.
us.
Yes, our
Well,
our
that
cartels are way more powerful than theirs, yes.
yes, that's what I'm saying. With the cartels that definitely don't work for the deep state. No, no, they're definitely independent
Yeah.
problems,
Yeah,
which
definitely
you would leave
independent.
right on your border if you
Uh-huh.
were a big powerful nation that could crush them. You would leave that there because why wouldn't you?
Don't tell my dad that, though. I think he killed a lot of Mexicans and Colombians.
You probably did.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, we had to get them under control. That's
we
how they did
did.
it.
I suppose that's
Subjugated
true.
them.
Yeah. Anyway, hi, Grimlock. You've been there all nice and quiet, muted.
Yes, and I don't come in making noise and interrupting the flow.
No, you
Mhm.
don't, and I respect that. But I don't know why every week we start out with this geopolitical conversations before we get into the bulk of the entertainment content. But boy, it's
I
super
enjoyed
hot,
it.
man.
I enjoy
Yeah,
it.
it's
I learn more listening to you two than I do those detestable fags in the mainstream media.
True, and using it in the proper way to use fag, as in dumbass.
that's right.
Yes,
Yes.
The
When did fag become homosexual? I mean, I guess technically it was when I was a kid, but we never used it that way.
I, I'm sure there was a dumb gay dude and somebody called him that and the shit stuck.
Maybe, yeah, yeah. But anyway, there's a we could speak for hours on what's going on geopolitically. I try to give you guys a little bit of updates, information I do have. Um, like I said, I have just decades of collected information so I can connect the dots pretty quickly, right?
Mhm.
Or at least I think I can, to be fair. But it's very weird what's going on right now. It's very, very bizarre. And yeah, well, at least their Ukraine problem is kind of done, though, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah, there's
the,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, they're going to have to
Unless
do
unless
something.
we escalate it further, which I don't think is going to happen.
Well, I don't know
Unless
how you
we
go
do it,
further. They literally, there's
we'd
no
have to
power.
invade.
Well, yeah, but well, we could. I mean, we know
Yeah,
there's a bunch of NATO in there anyway. They're
of
full of
course.
shit. But because Russia has put out video and of captured NATO soldiers and stuff already. They've been doing it for a
Yeah,
while. But anyway, there's no power in Ukraine, right?
right.
Water is gone, right? There's no communications, right? So their army is absolutely obliterated.
Yeah,
I mean, and
routed, full route.
full. I mean, the Russians have backed up here or there because, like I said, they never really wanted to take Western Ukraine. That wasn't the intention.
Right.
But was literally one day they were like, "All right, fine, deal with it." That's literally what happened. In a
Yep.
single day, or over a course of 2 days, they eliminated the infrastructure. And you had many people. They dropped a bomb in a park. These bombs are going to do nothing. They literally collapse the infrastructure of a country in a day, dude. And but you see the Western media going on about the how pathetic an attempt by Russia. I mean, really, really. But it's funny, that they go on like that because the reality is it isn't very funny because the Ukrainians are fucked.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
I mean the ground is literally freezing in Ukraine and you have no power or water.
Yep.
Whoosh.
Going to
Talk
get hard.
about
It's going to be a
freaking
long, hard winter.
apocalyptic, dude. And for
They
for
should
a
have.
lot of countries, actually.
They should have done exactly what I said from the beginning. Sit down and talk to Putin and give him what he wants,
Well, dude,
whatever he wants.
Zelensky was doing that, right? He was, and
Yep.
he showed. Remember, we were talking about what in March, I think it was.
Yes.
And he was willing. It looked like they're willing to come to the table and make some kind of agreement. And then Boris Johnson showed up in Kiev.
Yep.
Literally went to Kiev. The leader of another country went to a war zone. Wow, dude. And then
Yep.
since then, Zelensky has been, "We shall never surrender."
Yeah.
Okay,
He went over
Mhm.
there. He went over there and hype manned him.
he
Got
did.
all up in his ear. Talk about you're better than this. You don't got to surrender. You kick his ass. We'll help you. He's like, all right, screw it. Let's try it. And well, you tried it. How'd that turn out there?
A little
How'd
bit
that turn
of
out, Vlad?
nostalgic deja vu. What was the last country Britain did that to? Oh yeah, that was called Poland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't work out very well for the
Mm,
Polish either.
yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. For
And
like
that's the
60
reality,
years.
by the way. That is what Britain did. They was like, "Don't you let those Germans crush your lines." So what? That there's humanitarian aid needed in Prussia. Oh no, you don't let them. And of course, the
Yep.
Polish just started, attacking all the means that Russia was to try to help the Prussians, who the Polish were literally starving out. Literally,
Yep.
that's what started World War II, by the way. Just so you know.
Yes. No, it
It,
was evil mustache man. He wanted territory.
well, it did. Boy, it got out of control though, didn't it?
Oh yeah, it always does.
Yeah.
Which is why I get a lot of people's trepidation about what's going on in Ukraine because they're worried it's going to get out of control and become something it was never. Or we could have just listened to Putin when he said what it was. He wasn't there for conquest.
Hmm.
That's not the goal. The goal was a limited military operation to hit certain targets and take them out. And then, if the Donbass and the other regions wanted to join Russia, that was their business.
Or
That was
they
the
could
goal.
be. Well, initially it was they could be their own state, right?
Yes.
But and of course the political means for the Russians and the Duma as well, because keep in mind Putin's been holding the Duma back for months and months.
Hmm.
But their own selfish political goals were to create a buffer between NATO and themselves. I mean
Right.
that's what it was. And now Poland is saying America should put nuclear weapons on their borders so they'd be near Russia. Ooh, Poland. Oh,
Poland,
Poland.
are you dumb?
What are you
Why would
doing,
you want
Poland?
that? Why would you put a big target like nuke here, right
Yeah,
here,
no,
guys,
literally. Yeah,
right
literally
here?
it is stupid.
This,
And I
hey,
and I
Russia, you got the biggest nuke in the world right here. We want it.
yeah.
Bring it on. Like, what are
And,
you doing?
and I have praised the Polish because they did take in those refugees and didn't bitch about it once, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I got
Well,
credit to Poland for that, but I'm like,
I
really?
get the Polish with their bravado. I do, especially against the Russians, because the communists did some shit to them
Oh, they did.
pretty bad
They
for a
did.
long time. So I get why they're like, screw them Ruskies. I get it.
Yeah.
But let's just pull it back and think this through for a second.
But I think those
Just
Polish
think it through.
jokes are starting to become true, though.
Dumb
Oh well.
Polacks, I tell you.
Poor Polacks. It would be tragic if Grimlock's other half was Polish. Please tell me it's true.
No,
Oh, thank God. All right. All right.
it'd be
Are you?
tragic for me.
It would be tragic for you. Is the other half Estonian,
No,
Lithuanian? Oh, Moldovan,
no,
Azerbaijani?
no.
What is your other half, or
My
quarter,
other
or
half
whatever?
is my other half is proudly Sicilian. I,
So
I
Italian, a black Italian. Oh my God, dude, you must be
Yeah.
tragic every day.
no, I get chicken parmesan and Kool Aid.
Chicken wings.
Chicken
Mm.
Yeah,
Parmesan and Kool-Aid. So we've given Kool-Aid to the blacks.
Yeah, that's theirs now. They get the grape
They
drink.
get the bug
well,
juice. Well, that's
Yeah.
sad.
I'm not saying we took it. We just became most associated with it.
Did you really? I mean, because everyone drank bug juice when I was a kid, except for me. I was
Oh
a
yeah,
weird kid, but I didn't
grew
know
up on
Kool-Aid
Kool-Aid.
was associated with the black community. I didn't know that.
Somewhere, somehow, that became.
So, okay, so you guys have claimed right to the Kool-Aid, the watermelons, the fried chicken, and the color
So
black itself.
yeah,
I
all of
didn't. I didn't
Jesus.
claim it.
it.
Um, I reached 18. They said we heard you was half Negroid. Here's your starter kit.
Okay,
It's
that's
four
it.
packs of grape Kool-Aid. My credit score went down 100 points off the rip.
Right,
Um,
right, right. I don't even know what my
um,
credit score is. I have no clue.
Do they even do that in Japan? What is it like over there?
I
How
don't
does that
know. I've
work?
never interacted with anything like that. Like I said, my wife does take care of the finances, but
he's got a
anytime,
fucking mountain. His credit's good.
probably, it probably is. I don't think I ever had a late payment. Hold on, let me think. Have I ever made a late payment in my life? Hmm. I don't
Now
think
that's
so.
now that's a comedy sketch I would love to see. Like, yeah, I'm behind on my payments on this mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be funny. I think when I was like 19, I was a couple weeks late on paying rent, but I don't know that that would affect my credit score. I think I
No,
was
it
I was
Now it
depends.
late
does.
paying rent once or twice, but I was very young. And I did speak to the landlord, and it was easily worked out. Yeah, no, I don't know what my credit score is, but I'd imagine it's okay.
Yeah,
Do you guys have good credit scores? Why do
I
you
do
need
now.
one?
Why do we
I'm
need
working my
one?
way back up. Yeah, well, why do we need one? Because they don't should have shit without it.
Yeah, that's facts.
Yeah, well, I usually just pay cash for things.
Well, yeah, but yeah, like if you want a house or whatever, you're gonna need one too, unless you have 300,000 for a decent
No,
house.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't pay. I didn't take a loan for this property. I paid for it straight out.
This guy. How many people
So
did
you're
you have to
just so you're
kill?
so you're just subtly saying we should just say fuck it and move to Japan. That's what I keep hearing from this
I
conversation.
keep hearing it too. Yep, over and over.
Well,
Uh, uh,
Japanese are like that though. Over here they don't take bank loans, dude. That's not
I don't
Japan.
like the banks. I remember when Fukushima happened, there was a whole bunch of money just floating around because people had it in their houses and
Yeah, no,
stuff.
it's
They
true.
didn't want to put it in the bank.
It's true. It is absolutely true. But no, this is a cash society. It's not a bank-based society. But I don't know what a little ass is, but I prefer a little bit of ass. It doesn't. I don't like these big bulbous asses. Speaking of that,
Uh-oh, here we go.
no, I gotta make comment here, because my wife and I are watching this show. It came out a couple of years ago. It was called The Outsider, another thing based on a Stephen King story. It's basically spoilers about a doppelganger, right? It's
Hmm.
superly slow paced. For youngins, don't bother watching it. You would just get frustrated. You got to be old to watch that. But nevertheless, it's just 10 episodes, and it was pretty good overall. I thought it was fine. But the funny thing with it as I was watching it was because one of the central sets on this was dealing with one guy, and he ran a strip club, right?
Mm.
So they were inside. The strippers in the background were literally just background. They weren't part of the conversation at all. They were just there. But I was like, God damn, those strippers are fat. I mean, well, dude, when I was young, I worked. You guys know I spent a long time working in strip clubs, right?
Mhm.
It was rare to see a chubby stripper. Strippers are thin, skinny often. They were
Yeah.
some fat ass strippers, and I was like, damn, is this the reality for the America? I feel bad for you guys.
Chester's
Yes.
over there getting ready to do the Scott Steiner fat asses promo.
This is gonna sound like it's a question. Let's put it that way. Do they have strip clubs in Japan? Is that a thing?
They occasionally you come across one, but they're kind of pathetic, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I didn't
Um,
think so. It didn't. I never heard of it. If there was
well,
such a thing.
here in Japan, prostitution is illegal, but to a certain point.
Hmm.
Penetration is illegal. Let's put it that way. Other things are not. Therefore, fellatio and with the hands and stuff is not illegal. You can actually sell that, and there are actually businesses that are open and licensed, right? And
Hmm.
you have strip clubs here. Occasionally, you'll see them, and I actually went and checked one out. But all it is kind of like it's kind of like a shop front for blowjobs, selling blowjobs. Really,
Nice.
it's really all it is. It's not really a
See,
strip club.
this is how you know Japan is the most advanced civilization because they don't shame men for wanting their dick sucked.
No, well, no,
It's legal.
and the penetration thing is because otherwise you have to have medical cards and stuff. It makes sense,
Right.
and I'm
Right.
sure plenty of those girls, especially in seedier areas, will do that as well if no one's looking. Because it's kind of like
Yeah.
the Europeans got around it with their champagne service, right? If you've ever heard that expression,
Oh yeah.
you're paying for the bottle of champagne. You're not paying for the sex, right? She can do whatever she wants, and that's how
Yeah.
they got around in Europe. Um, but America probably too. I don't know. Actually, I did.
Escorts.
Well, I did work at strip clubs for a long time, and I know some girls were prostituting, but I didn't see that side of it very much. I don't really have a lot of knowledge on that side of it. But
That's probably for the best.
probably because I had no interest in it
No, the
whatsoever.
way we do it in America, if well, some places you can just do it, like in Nevada, but in most places in America you can just do escorts, and basically it's similar to the champagne service type
Yeah,
deal. You
that's
just
true.
pay more for something else, but I mean everybody knows what it's for.
Right. No, that's true. The Americans have the escort service. The Europeans have the champagne service, and the Japanese just well, it's just legal.
I think
Uh,
someone should run on a platform of tax that ass, and we're going to legalize whores,
yeah,
but we're going to regulate it and
yeah,
tax the shit out of it.
yeah.
That seems reasonable to me.
Seems reasonable. It's kind of the American way, really.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
capitalist way. Why aren't we doing that? We already allow OnlyFans to exist. What really is the difference except brothels would be way better experience than just watching a girl do things. You can actually go do things with the
Well,
female.
especially, I've never actually been to. Well, I have been to a brothel before. That's not true. An American one I've never seen. I've seen them here in Asia. I didn't even know at first I was in one, and then but anyway, I never seen the American version of it though, Western version of it. But um, you know, it, I could imagine if you built up, if you had someone with some money and they set up a brothel and they did it where it's actually entertaining. They have like little live shows and it could create this kind of festive environment inside the place, and they had that on the side. I think that could be a lot of fun place. Now, I wouldn't be interested in the girls, but because I already have one. But
Mhm.
it could be fun. I mean, that would be smart. Kind of meld your entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I honestly like I get the religious, Abrahamic argument against it and blah blah blah. I understand that, but no one's making you engage in it. Like if it's as long as it's not done around schools or around children, then what does
Yeah,
it matter if adults pay for sex? Listen, you're paying for it one way or the other, guys. I hate
you
to
are.
tell you,
That's true.
you're paying for it,
Yeah,
and that's
and
okay. That's the way society. That's the exchange. It's a deal. You're in a marketplace here, and you're
you
making
are,
deals.
and you
You're giving
notice,
her money and resources and time and protection and love, and she's giving you what you want.
That's right.
It's fair trade.
It is fair trade. It just needs to be, safe, medically safe.
That's right.
But you know, yeah, exactly. So, Grimlock, are you ready? Should we get into the actual entertainment news part of today? I think we should.
Yes, entertain us.
And I
Chester just
shall.
wants to talk about horrors all day. I tell you.
Well, I do have a little bit of experience with it. But anyway, here we go. Let's get into it.
Robbie Coltrane, which is the best name I've
It
ever
is.
heard.
It is a great
Harry
name.
Potter actor dies aged 72. That is not that old, Mr. Coltrane, but you were a heavy man, so
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Coltrane here is in a ton of movies. He's most famous probably in for modern people with his performance as Hagrid in Harry Potter, of course. But I know him from stuff. He's been around a long time. And
Mhm.
he's cool. And just it is too young. We lost Angela Lansbury as well. Um,
Yeah.
Several people actually. There were a bunch of obituaries this past week or so. But I put this one up because, well, everybody knows Robbie, right?
Old Hagrid himself.
Yeah, and
One
his
of the best characters in Harry Potter, I would say. He's not because he has a lot of depth per se, but because he has a role and he plays it and it never really misses. And that's good.
no,
That's how
it's good.
you that's
It's
how
a
you
good,
do a good character.
and they made him look way bigger than he actually is too. But the funny thing, it's not funny, but the peculiar thing is that every time we have one of these people die, Twitter blows up and hates on them. What's up with
Yeah.
those people, dude? Why are you hating
They're
on
evil.
people?
That's it. They're
They,
evil.
if I'm not mistaken, they are celebrating his death because he stood in support of J.K. Rowling, who is
Evil
apparently
bigot.
now supposed to be an evil bitch because she doesn't believe it, she's not a fan of the T in the LGBT sandwich.
No, she isn't. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, actually, today. And that debacle is going on, and the non-debacle that's going on. But she does have a quote here. Thank you for you just helped me. You're good, Grimlock.
I
J.K.
know.
Rowling says, I'll never know anyone remotely like Robbie again. He was an incredible talent, a complete one off, and I was beyond fortunate to know him, work with him, and laugh my head off with him. I send my love and deepest condolences to his family above all his children. And I will parrot that because if you actually go and read a little bit about Robbie Coltrane, and of course we've known him in entertainment for a long time, it actually sounds like he's a nice guy.
Oh my gosh, how dare he?
Yeah.
How dare he not throw a friend under the bus because she has an opinion that some find distasteful? What a monster. What a
Well,
bastard for having loyalty to his friends. I tell you.
yeah. Well,
These
I wasn't
people
even talking
are
about that.
evil, Chester.
Yeah, no,
These
they are.
people are evil people. We need to stop pretending like they're not damaged. They're evil. The only thing damaged in them is their spirit. Their human spirit in them is broken, and they don't even have the ability to empathize with somebody who just died. I don't care who it is. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If unless this person was a true, genuine bastard, he hurt people, killed people, whatever. Fine. But this dude was an actor and a comedian, and the only thing I've seen, like Grimlock said, is he didn't stab his friend in the back.
Right. And I've
What a
seen
bastard.
I've
Yeah.
seen probably a lot more of his acting than most of the people listening to me right now.
Mhm.
Because well, not now, but I used to pay attention to British stuff quite a bit. But yeah, no, I agree, and not that I agree with hardly anything Little Miss Rollins says, but her battle with the transgenders is interesting, because well, I don't even disagree with her really on her points, but the funny thing about Rollin is they keep trying to cancel her, and they keep failing spectacularly.
Yeah.
Have you
She's
noticed?
uncancelable. She's too big.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just that. In my opinion, you're just making her case for her.
You know,
If you're gonna sit there and be mad because she says what she says, and one of my things is, Twitter is the domain for the mentally ill. Your constant reaction to it only proves that point. Because if you hate her that much, okay, fine. you don't have to like her. Like I'm saying this. I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I don't buy the book. I never bought the books. Never bought the movies. I don't care. But if if her opinion bothers you that much, you don't have to follow her. You don't have to pay any attention to her. There's
No, of
plenty of
course not.
people I do not like. Like I'm not gonna follow Trevor Noah to see what that stupid motherfucker got to say. He has nothing
Well, yeah,
that
but
there's
he's
nothing he can say
literally
that
a
I'm
talentless hack, though. We could make a
he
better
he he
example, right?
he is, and I had a Twitter account permanently suspended because I said that in a in a spicier way, but I don't go following the motherfucker. Like I don't care what he has to say. In fact, I'm
No,
glad
no.
that he's finally quitting the Daily Show. Take your talentless ass back to South Africa. I'll help you pack.
Well, please, I don't know why that was such a weird replacement with him. But no, with Rollins, you have to give credit where credit is due. I've read her books to my kids. I have my kids,
Yeah.
and because it's a perfect age, they grew up with Harry Potter, and they're solid films. The books are really well written. Actually, it's not like a normal YA book. They cross the boundary. I'm not going to put them in the Tolkien league, but they're really well written. And the lady was very very business savvy. She held all the rights to her shit. And she is benefiting now. So whether you like Rollins or not, that lady is smart, and
She
she's
is.
And
she is.
you know what the funniest thing about the whole J.K. Rowling um, backlash for 15 years, me and Thundaro people like us for 15 years said the same thing. Quote another motherfucking book because every fucking thing for 15 goddamn years, anything they don't like, they somehow made like a fucking Harry Potter reference or analogy to it. So it's
Hmm.
like, for God's sakes, read
Well,
another motherfucking book. And all it took for them to actually stop quoting Harry Potter incessantly is her having an opinion they
but they
didn't
but
like. Like,
but they haven't
imagine
stopped it though. They haven't stopped it though.
oh, they have compared to where
Compared
it
to what they
was
used to.
even 5
Yes.
years compared to where it was even 5 years ago. Oh, it's complete 180
Well,
compared
All
to
this
right.
is
like
this is my biggest problem with the whole deal, and it's one of my biggest problems with a lot of things in these spaces in entertainment, whatever. If you truly love somebody's work, it shouldn't really matter to you what their opinion is. It just doesn't. As long as their work is their work and their opinions are their opinions, that's fine. Now, there's obviously exceptions to this, I would say, but by and
yeah.
large, I think you should be able to separate the art from the artist. And if you can't do that, then that's on you.
It
That's a
is.
Yeah,
you
That is
problem.
true. That is true.
I'll give a perfect example of that. Dave Mustaine from Megadeth.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what a
Insanely,
dickhead.
Yeah.
he's an insanely talented musician. And Chester, I saw the man play in April. He still got considering where he was and at one point he got into a wreck and they thought he was done.
Yeah.
And he's still out there. He's
Yeah,
an
no, I'm not
insanely
going to argue his talents,
talented
but he
and
is a dick.
but it's like, dude, it's been 40 years. Let go that you was let out of that you was let go from Metallica. It worked out for the best for everybody
It did.
involved.
It did. But he
Let it
he
go, brother.
he cannot
Just
let it go though, dude.
yeah,
It is true.
but
But no, you're right. But thing also, the
yeah.
reason some people might be mad at me that I don't put Rollins into Tolkien's category, which I don't know why you would be angry at me. But keep in mind that with J.K. she took everything in her books from somewhere else, and she just put
Mhm.
it together in her own unique way, which is pretty normal. I don't give her
Yeah.
flack
Mhm.
for that. But Tolkien is created something unique, and it's the
Mhm.
reason why is because the level of knowledge of that man is well beyond most living humans.
Yeah.
That's how
She
he was able to do that.
she took her inspirations and made something into them
Hmm.
instead of what a lot of people do today is take somebody else's stuff and just insert themselves and say they're correcting it.
Yeah. And she even and this is where you really have to give the wherewithal, because we know right well she wanted that story to be about Hermione, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite clear she wanted that story but to be about Hermione, but she knew that she couldn't sell that, so she made it about Harry Potter
Well, yeah,
instead.
because Hermione is, a bitch.
Right,
Nobody wants to read that.
but that shows you the level of understanding. She's a
Yeah.
hardcore feminist. She wanted to be all about
Yes.
Hermione, but she knew that wouldn't be profitable,
Well,
and
she
she
also, I think, is that's an admission that she knows that whole attitude, like Hermione's whole attitude, or the way her character, the way she carries herself, is repulsive to most people. And Harry Potter's much more neutral, much more hopeful, aspirational character
sure,
is not.
right,
So the fact that Harry is the hero of the story, as he, and he is, as he should be, is an admission, whether she admits it or not, of her own toxicity, I guess, validity in her own philosophy.
yeah,
That's amazing. I don't know if she ever has had that epiphany, probably not. But from the outside looking in, yeah, what you just admitted, sweetheart, is that your worldview is trash, and you know it, but you're not willing to let it go, and instead you'll make somebody else as a stand-in be the secondary player in your own story
right,
instead of just letting go of the
right.
fact that your worldview's trash.
And of course, she has enough money that she can do whatever the hell she wants. But
Yes.
nevertheless, Mr. Coltrane, Miss Lansbury, and all the other people that have passed, safe journeys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed, he
Oh,
seems like a really good man, and it's a shame it's always a shame when a good man dies. Always.
Yeah.
the
Well,
other
he won't
funny
let it
thing,
go. Yeah.
the other funny thing I find about the whole J.K. Rowling thing is just to show you how quickly you can go from approved to unimproved in
Oh yeah.
literally the blink of an eye,
Oh yeah.
and and the fact that it was that, and I'm thinking, and a logical person would understand where she's coming from, and it's like, where's your major malfunction that a feminist wouldn't want to sleep with a dude who thinks he's a woman? The whole
Yeah.
point of
Yeah.
her being a lesbian feminist is that she doesn't like men.
Yeah. That's kind of
That's
the point.
the whole.
Yeah.
That's the whole gimmick.
It
You
is.
know. You know. You know. That would be like. My whole gimmick of me would be like, oh, I hate Jewish people, but every time you see me, I have a Jewish girlfriend. Kinda ruins the gimmick.
Hmm. Well, I do need to move on to the next story, but this whole time we've been talking, I've been bothered. I don't know if you could tell.
Uh-oh.
Over here it says, "Can an enormous seaweed farm help curb climate change?" The sinuses are starting to act up on me, Thundero. You see, uh, Jesus, these people are so stupid. They're so stupid.
The
One side of the
admission is in the
mouth and then the
question.
other, right? One side of the
Yes.
fucking mouth and we got to get rid of the cows and the nitrogen. More seaweed. All right, you fuckers. I'm sorry. I'm like, okay, I don't want to. This is better. I'll look at this a little bit. Well, dude, why does she look so much like Angelina Jolie now?
It
Oof.
is a little weird. Don't worry, darling director Olivia Wilde, disappointed that media cared more about film's on-set scandals than its message.
Okay. I wanted to get into this a little bit, and I actually titled the show after this, and a couple other examples I put in here, of course. But here's the thing. I don't know much about Olivia Wilde. I remember her on House, I believe. She was on that
Yep.
show. I think it was House. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was House. With Hugh Laurie, who is amazing. Again, once again, keep in mind he's connected directly to the Monty Python people and Mr. Bean himself, Rowan Atkinson. I love one of my first impressions of him was coming out of Blackadder, and he's awesome. But we're not talking about Hugh Laurie though. We're talking about Olivia Wilde. Now, this lady is so freaking Hollywood vapid. It's almost as if she's a poster child. Okay.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to get into this a little bit. So let me set it out, and then we'll have a conversation. Now, her movie here, "Don't Worry, Darling," was supposed to be some big feminist message, and I'll get into what that message should be in a minute. However, during the making of it, she had Shia LaBeouf on to play the main love interest, I guess, and that has been, and they replaced it with Harry Styles. But she came out and said that he was fired because he was a pain in the ass, basically, is what she said, which no one would be surprised at,
Hmm.
anybody, because Shia LaBeouf is freaking psychotic. We all know this, right? However, he had proof that that was a lie, not only in text messages, but also in video. And he came out and said, "Whoa, hold on a second. I left because I was working on another project and we couldn't find time to rehearse. Therefore, it couldn't be done." And he proved it.
Hmm.
He had the proof, right? So she lied straight up about it, and so that created a bit of a scandal. Then her I don't think she was married. I think it was her boyfriend. She and her boyfriend had a baby, and or ex-boyfriend or whatever the situation was. And a summons was put on her at some event for the early promotion of this movie, which created a lot of stir on the set amongst all the other actors. So you have a bunch of scandal and nonsense because she's basically fucking Harry Styles on the set here, which I don't know, Harry, you could do better, man. That's an old lady. What are you doing, Harry?
Hmm.
I mean, I know you're confused about whether you're a male or female, or are you just full of shit. I'm going to go with the latter.
He's fucking a celebrity crush. That's all. Nothing wrong
Maybe,
with that.
maybe, maybe, maybe. Okay, fine. But watch, because she's way old now. Man, the wall smashed right into her, dude. Damn. Because I remember when she was on House, which
And he
wasn't a long
probably
time ago.
smashed right into her too.
Well, he did, but I mean, I remember her on House. I mean, she was way too damn skinny, but she did have a beautiful face. She did. Very interesting, beautiful face. Kind of like what was her name? Foster, Meg Foster, back in the day. And speaking of Meg Foster, she had those super light eyes. I had those kind of super light eyes too. But Meg Foster's are
Those
like
guys
the
totally worked in Day Live. Holy
oh,
shit.
she was awesome, but her eyes are lighter than mine even. But you know, she was, I don't know, attractive lady, wouldn't you say?
She was okay.
Yeah. But I have gained so much respect for Meg Foster, I can't even tell you, because she has had a resurgence in acting. Did you know that?
I did not.
Nope.
You probably have seen her and not even realize you were looking at her because she's an old lady. I mean, damn, she's a seriously old lady. And she has that old lady cracked wrinkle. I mean, hardcore. I mean, hag witch type of cracked up face, right? And you know what she did? She didn't go get plastic surgery to pull it all back. You know what she did? Was like, "Hey, I'm an old lady. Do you need an old lady role?" And they're like, "Yes, we do, ma'am." And she showed up in so many movies recently, and especially horror movies because her face is so craggy. Matter of fact, I should show it to you. But you got to respect that. She's like, "Screw it, I'm old. Let's use this to my advantage, just like I did my eyes." You got to respect that, dude, because a lot of women, they can't handle it, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's true. Um, yeah, I don't know what happened to. Oh wow, yeah, holy cow.
And usually she's wearing gray hair in it too. Yeah, here you go, here you go, here you go, right here,
Oof.
right? And she's usually going with the gray hair as well. And actually, this is a
Looked
little bit.
like a Walking Dead zombie.
She does, and she'll do the movie. She'll have her hair all gray. She'll take all the makeup off and just go just because it's
Lord,
visually striking, right? And so
Lord
good on
forgive me
her.
for what I'm. Lord forgive me for this joke, but I did not know David Hasselhoff identified as a woman these days.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Fair enough. But I'm just saying because you look at her when she was young. I mean, damn, dude, right?
She's a
Um,
cutie.
she's a cutie, and I just appreciate her for just embracing it. And screw it, I'm an old lady. Let's use it in my advantage, and she is. But anyway,
Good.
it has very little to do with this. Uh, Here's the thing. She also had a lot of problems with some little girl here who's something Pew. What's her name?
Um,
Something. This girl, the Pew girl.
yeah,
Yeah, whatever her name is. This is going on with that. But she also had, here we go. Florence
Florence Pugh. Yeah.
Pugh, right? The big old row because Florence, I guess, is 100% on board for the the feminist message of this film, and she's very mad that Olivia Wilde sold the whole film on the sex part. Now, keep in mind, this movie bombed. That's why you've never heard of it, because it bombed bad. It's already out, by the way. Bombed, serious bomb, and of course, as it would. But there was so much stress going on set. A lot of people on the set were very upset with what she was doing with Harry Styles, and these are Hollywood people. What the hell was she doing with Harry on set that pissed all these Hollywood people off? I mean, can you imagine? Even David Sassoff. That's
Mhm.
pretty funny, Alan. You get points. Well, I mean, honestly, Grimlock, what could she have been doing with Harry Styles on set that would upset these syphilis-infested Hollywood bastards?
I, I don't know how. These people are very strange and they're very far removed from reality.
I don't
So
know. It's weird. And her ex-boyfriend, like I said, did serve her for custody rights to the children. Maybe she was doing stuff in front of her kids. Maybe that was the issue. I
could be.
don't know. But this was a production from hell, is what turned out to be, and it was all socially created, not productionally wise. Is that a word? Well, it is now. Uh,
It
but
is
um,
now.
but anyway, this is the nightmare of the show. But here's the funny thing: after all of that vanity and ineptness and silliness and just sluttery from Olivia Wilde. I mean, just pure sluttery. Because she's I guess she's just a Hollywood slut, which shocking. But here's the thing: the message of this
Mm.
film is set in the 50s, and during the 50s, as far as this movie is concerned, was the worst time to be a woman ever, ever. It was the worst time. Women had no rights; they were slaves in their houses. Now, um,
Okay, keep believing that propaganda if you want to.
yeah, but here's the problem. Women have never been slaves in their houses unless they were actually slaves owned by someone else.
Yeah. In
Uh,
someone else's house.
Women have always had power of the pillow, right?
Yep.
And that is nothing new. Women run the social aspect of society. All of our etiquette and all of our social culture comes out of women, not men, right? So it's all nonsense anyway. But the
Yep.
50s of all times, when women had more conveniences that allowed them to not have to spend hours a day keeping the house, they could have so much free time to go join clubs and little tea parties and what was that? What was that came up? Bridge and pinochle, right? Those
Old
kind of things
pinochle.
came up because women had so much free time where the men are out working all day. This literally what America calls its golden
Yep.
age, women were just absolutely oppressed.
Horrible. Horrible to
Horribly,
be a
horribly.
housewife.
And I'm
Which is
just wondering,
funny
yeah,
because my wife and my cousin are both women around my age,
hmm
and I'll often hear them have these conversations amongst themselves, talking about, man, the 50s. I don't know what those women were thinking. All they had to do was fuck them and cook their food and clean their house, and they got to live there, and that was it.
yep,
They didn't have to work.
yep,
And I just started laughing, and
yep.
I said, "Yeah, you got sold out, ladies.
You
That's
did.
what
They did
happened."
get sold out. The business is like, well, ladies want to work too. Well, let's reduce the men's pay, and we'll just give you similar pay, and we're good.
Yep.
And see how
Everybody
that worked
wins.
out, ladies? Worked out real good for you. But I mean, it's such inanity coming out of these idiots. The whole premise, even Pew would be the biggest idiot, I really think, because she believes it. Little girl who has how much money? You worrying about oppression? Fuck off, little girl.
The
Right?
little white girl. Calm down.
I mean, honestly. But Olivia Wilde is very upset because all of her nasty little sex scandal, which she did on her own, by the way,
That's right.
somehow clouded the very important message that the 50s was awful.
These people are insane.
Well, one Olivia, one women are. There's a certain group of women who are starting to believe that's a bunch of bullshit. That number is growing.
Oh yeah,
There's
because it
a
is
data
bullshit. It's
pointing
complete
towards that.
bullshit. Yeah.
Number two, um, your people are tired of as the critical drinker has pointed out, the message,
Mhm.
because especially now considering the economic reality a lot of people are waking up to on a daily basis. We don't want to hear, they don't want to hear from people in the kind of position and the kind of privilege, actual privilege, not none of that fake shit they try to socially engineer on the people, actual privilege that a person like Olivia Wilde has enjoyed all of her adult life for the
Sure.
most
I'll
part.
be back in a minute. You guys continue.
That she is so downtrodden, and they need somebody like her to preach a message, a nonsensical message, not um, to these people. They don't want to hear that from a person in her position. They really don't.
Yeah. No, it's utter modern feminist garbage that these women
Yeah,
were in this terrible position, being housewives and mothers, doing literally the most important job on the planet, being a mother. There is not one that you will do that is of greater importance unless you're an extremely exceptional individual and invent like fertilizer or something. There's nothing else you're going to be doing that's anywhere near as important as being a parent, a mother. Now you don't have to be if you don't want to be. That's your business. But my point is to sit here and say that these women were in some dire straits because they were housewives is preposterous. It's utterly ridiculous, and they'll throw out complete non sequiturs like what they couldn't get credit cards. Okay, why is first of all hold up? Why do we need credit cards? Like why is that your argument? They couldn't put themselves in debt. Oh, terrible fate they were in. Like I don't understand this argument. I get the argument in principle they should have the same rights. Blah 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 blah. Fine, but if your example is a mechanism of literal financial enslavement, which is what credit cards are, which is what credit
yes.
is, then your argument is stupid and facile. Because there are better examples, for one, and for two, who cares? At the end of the day, is that really the end of the damn world if one group of people is not allowed to have a credit card and another group of people is? Because, by the way, I hate to tell you, that's still the rule. They just changed the metrics. That's it. Now
I
anybody
Yeah,
can
I
as
have
long
a
as they have.
credit card.
Yeah, anybody can
and
as long as they have a certain credit score. But
Mine's
most
very
other.
special.
Uh oh.
I bet.
It is. I didn't know this, but because my wife gave it to me. I can go into any airport and I can go into the executive lounges just by flashing my credit card. I don't have to pay anything.
It's nice.
It is nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not very important to me, but my wife thinks it's super special. But anyway, here's the thing, though, that I got a lot of angst about in regards to Miss Wilde's and the other and Pew and the other people on this and in the world. When please name a time when women have ever been shut up.
Oh
Someone
God.
please. Someone please name that to me. When in history have women ever been shut up? When?
It hasn't happened.
It's never happened because it's impossible. And all you have to do is go have a conversation with a woman today. Matter of fact, let's take a modern example, shall we, Grimlock? Let's do it.
Uh oh.
Let's
I would assume that most of us would think the most oppressive cultures against women would be the Islamist, right?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we would assume because we've been told this over and over
Mhm.
again. So let's take a look what's going on in Iran right now. Now, Iran,
Mhm.
would you guys agree, is oppressive to the women?
Compared to here, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, is it though? Because now recently
On
there
the
was a
on
there's a
the surface, perhaps.
yeah, but I'm going to show you that it's not at all. Okay. In Iran, they do have a strict Islamic set of, they have Sharia law and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
you would say, oh, the women must hate it. Hmm. Well, we had a little incident here happen a couple weeks ago where a Kurdish woman, now keep in mind the fact that she's Kurdish, I think is very important to this whole point. But she was in Tehran, and one of their Islamic police came up and said, "Hey, your pants are way too tight. You're not allowed to do that. We're going to take you into custody. We're going to give you a fine, right?" So they take her into custody. Of course, her family's very upset. She goes into custody, and they say that she was beaten and then she died, and it created this big, huge uproar and all kind of protests in the street and stuff like that. And then the government was like, okay, and they put a video out showing there was a lady sitting there. It was talking to her. You could see very clearly a lady, because you see, men cannot in Islamic culture, men cannot punish the women in that way. Other women
Mm.
have to, right? They have special
Mhm.
women police to deal with those kind of things. And you can see the lady shaking her finger at her about her tight pants, right? And she gets very upset, and it sounds like the lady's like, you could get a fine, which is what there was many ladies in that room. They were getting fines, and she fell over and died with a heart attack right there on the video, right?
Mm.
And we find out now that she had a weak heart anyway. She'd been having trouble. She's only 20 something, so it's sad. But
Yeah.
the reality is that she died because she was weak. She wasn't beaten. She wasn't hurt by anybody at all. She was getting a fine. But the Kurds blew up, and understand the Kurds are this barely surviving remnant from Muhammad, right?
Hmm.
That
Mhm.
fight everyone all the time. And to be fair, the rest of them are trying to murder them off, as they're constantly trying to murder each other anyway. But so that's a big part of it. But you have these major protests in the street, people violently marching and throwing and burning stuff. Women are doing it. Not the
Hmm.
men, the women. Matter of fact, the men don't know what to do with themselves. They're kind of staying out of it. And you know who the opposing side to these protesting women against the strictness of the hijab and things like that? Other women. So in Iran, this big ado, which I'm sure the media in the West is shown as being, these men in Iran. The men have nothing to do with it. The men have backed right the hell up, and the women are viciously busting each other, dude. I mean, people have died, but this is women who agree with the burqa rules and modesty against women who want to become Western. That's what's happening. So in Iran, the place we're told is one of the most oppressive places on earth for women, as soon as the women make one little comment, what do the men do? Back the fuck up, because that's what we always do.
Yeah.
That's what we've always done. So this is such nonsense, and I really wish someone who had a more broad and powerful voice than I do would just stand up and say, "Fuck you, ladies, sit down." For once in history, it would be nice for a man to stand up and just say, "No, God damn it."
Mm.
My water's boiling, though. I'll be back.
Water's boiling. Uh, that's interesting because I haven't heard much about what's going on in Iran. There's always something going on there because it's a
Yeah.
place. It's a place that exists. Um, but no, I actually obviously agree with Chester. I think this idea, especially in Western cultures, now you could make cases in other places. You could even make some cases here occasionally. But by and large, this idea of the oppression of women is just ridiculous. It's because they saw that men had certain advantages in society that they didn't. So therefore, that equals oppression. No, that's not oppression.
No.
That's not what oppression is. And the fact that people want absolute equality in all things all the time, okay, fine, that's a principle you can have, but it's stupid because we're not equal. The idea that humanity, especially as a broad stroke, is equal to each other, as Thomas Sowell famously said, you're not equal to yourself from the morning to the afternoon. What are you talking
Yes.
about? There is no such thing as equality in that way. You can have equality under the law, meaning everybody has the same rights, and that's fine. But to take it further than that is where you get into where then it quickly devolves into nanny state bullshit, where the state is trying to protect you from everything because it doesn't want you to get harmed. That's how you get there. You get there by insisting on equality in every facet, right? There must be no disparity between anybody ever, and the reason why the only way to enforce that is through effectively a nanny state, to make sure
Yep.
that that never happens. Because our human nature is discriminatory, and it's discriminatory
Well, it's
based
a
on sex, on
sure.
race, on all sorts of different things.
Well, it's
So,
objectifying, right? Because we have to see
yeah,
what's safe and what's not. But
correct.
Alan has got the solution, though. He said, "I just tell him to calm down. Works every time." Yeah. Yeah. Now, keep in mind, Chris Pine's character here also somehow Jordan Peterson and Donald Trump wrapped into one, and it's like, okay, Jordan
Yeah.
Peterson.
Yeah, they don't like Jordan Peterson. He
Yeah,
he
but what does he
dares
have to do with anything?
he dares Chester. He dares to say that it's wrong to compel people to say things they don't want to say.
Yeah,
That
but
monster.
most of his conversation are toward young men and them cleaning their
That's
rooms.
well. They also can't have that. You see, the system is built upon actual oppression, and that is the oppression of the young man.
Yeah,
They can't have
that's
young
true.
men even aspiring to greatness, or else they will crush whoever's helping them to aspire.
Mhm.
Because the reality is, as we know, as everybody knows, but we all pretend, you want something to actually change. The people who get it changed are the young men, the men between 20 and 50. These are your men. These are your revolutionaries. Everybody else can bitch and moan and cry in the streets all they want, and that's fine, and we should maybe listen to them. But you want actual violent change. True change is always violent. You want actual violent change, it'll be the young men. When the young men have had enough, that's when it's over.
Yeah, and then it gets ugly though. I do
Yeah.
like the fact that stuck there in the middle of the frame is a black lady with a fade in 1952.
Yeah, because that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, especially in high society, right?
I
I
wonder
mean,
if half of this movie or a big portion of this movie is about how hard it was to be black in the 50s as well.
I'm just sure,
Yeah.
even though the black community was far better off in the 50s than they
Yeah.
are now.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
Yep.
because amongst normal folk, it didn't really matter what your color was at any time because we have to work together. Amongst high society, those are the fuckers that care. Once again, I'll say it. I've said it many times. All of the bullshit against the black community in America has come from the Democrats, literally,
Yep.
provably.
Yep. The
Anyways,
only thing that you can prove Republicans, you could say, this is their argument, is that Republicans demand they everybody be treat at least they in on policy they try to make policies that demand that they treat themselves with the same level of integrity and class and dignity that everybody else is required of.
yeah,
And for some reason, that gets twisted into oppression, and I don't understand that.
it's weird.
I don't get that logic.
But I have to say, for a titless wonder, she has done well for herself.
Yeah, I mean, she's making movies. They're not successful, but she's making them.
She's
It's a
doing
shame
it.
that
She has authority.
Chris Pine keeps getting sucked into these sorts of bombing that are definitely going to bomb. Chris, what
Does
are you
he get
doing?
sucked into it, or is he a true believer?
Maybe he is, or maybe he's getting sucked other ways. I don't know, but
Well,
it doesn't make sense because
Ol-
Chris
Olivia was
is
sucked in
actually a
something.
talented actor.
He is, and
So it would be nice to see him succeed and not be sucked into these black holes
well,
that he keeps falling into.
to be fair, we are bashing on her for her stupid ideas. And the only thing I've ever seen her in was House, but she was
Yeah,
pretty good in it. She's a solid actress. She is a
yeah, she
solid
can act.
actress. I'd never seen her in anything else, but you're an idiot, Olivia. You're an idiot.
House. My wife's been watching the House again.
Stop being a slut. Stop being
House is the last
stupid.
one of the last times our culture is ever going to have a character who's just honest, and that's it. You might not like what he says, but he's telling you how he feels,
Oh no, House is
and
great.
it's very often very rude. That show formulated my anti-doctor and anti-nurse stance, meaning I don't much like nurses simply because I think House is right. Most nurses are just people who weren't smart enough to be doctors, and I'm like, ooh, yeah,
That hurts. But I
that's
mean,
kind of
but
true.
they do all the work though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, of course they do because doctors are smart. Like I ain't doing that shit. You go do
That's true.
it.
Well, anyway, let's move on from that. But damn, man. I mean, the thing that intrigues me out of
Ooh,
all of it though is how bad a slut was she being on set that she upset the other Hollywoodites.
pretty bad. You'd have to
Wow,
be.
dude. I mean, wow, dude. They must
So
have been really bad, dude.
our boy
Well,
Hal
also
Thomas
being a
over here has an idea that I actually never thought of before, but it's not a bad one. Chris
Send
should have been
JD.
Aquaman.
It's always a good idea.
No,
Yeah, no,
Chris
that's
should have been
fair.
Aquaman.
Maybe.
Yeah, a proper Arthur. Yeah, that would have been nice.
Yeah.
Would have been nice.
He has a too severe face for Arthur, though, I think.
He is
Um,
pretty. He is pretty severe. That's
yeah.
true.
Well, anyway, let's move on to something happier.
Oh boy. Something happier, he says. Let's see what we got here. Dwayne Johnson confesses a film pitting Black Adam against Superman is what the new era in the DCEU is about. This is the whole point of this. Yes. And we knew this because he said that was the point.
Mhm.
I watched an interview, I think I put it in the chat actually recently, where he said, and I quote, "Well, I'm a DC boy at heart. I grew up with DC, and I love Black Adam, but I love Superman more." Because somebody asked him the question of if that fight is going to happen on screen, have you visualized it in your head, and who throws the first punch? And he says, I have visualized it in my head, and obviously Black Adam's going to throw the first punch. And then the guy says, yeah, but who wins? And he said, well, I love Superman, so it's probably not going to go in Black Adam's favor. But basically, what he was saying is that he actually does genuinely love these characters. Because, for one, if you actually are somebody who, as famous as he is, go out there and say, you love Black Adam as a character, that's impressive. Because, one, he doesn't have any. I mean, obviously, he's making a movie, but he's been saying this for years, even before they were making the movie, that he wants to play Black Adam. That's impressive. Black Adam is obscure by and large. To most people, I have no idea. Like I asked my buddy today, I said, "Hey, you want to go see Black Adam?" He goes, "What's Black Adam?" No idea what I'm talking
I know
about.
it's this
Most
comic
people
book
have
guy.
no idea.
Yeah.
So if he knows who Black Adam is, and he seems to, that's pretty cool of The Rock. Because The
Oh
Rock
yes.
kind of grew up as a nerd. He was a wrestling nerd, and then he got big and strong in his teenage years. But before that, he was just some dorky little wrestling kid who probably read a bunch of comic books, it sounds like. And I don't think that ever leaves you. I think that stays.
Well,
I mean, look at all these guys. Look at him. Look at Jeff Bezos and stuff. These guys. That never leaves you. It sets you up for life as somebody who's infatuated with that sort of stuff. So I think that's interesting, and I hope it's true. And I guarantee you this is true. I don't doubt this for a second. I don't doubt any of it because he's The Rock. He has that kind of stroke. You're gonna want to make him happy if he signs on to your company. So yes, and he straight literally in that same interview, they asked him, "Is the reason Henry Cavill is back as Superman is that because of you?" And he didn't say yes, but he said, "Welcome home." He looked at the camera and told Henry, "Welcome home."
yeah, no,
So
I
yes,
agree
the
with
answer
him
is yes.
100%. I'm all behind Dwayne in this regard anyway.
Yeah, he's
But
winning
yeah,
right
no,
now.
he is, and he started as a fire dancer actually, in the north part of Oahu. Brigham Young University has a big complex up there, and they actually, being Mormons, they're really good at selling shit, and they, they're the American bred Jew. Anyway,
That's right.
but they
Yeah,
have this
go.
this thing you can go and enjoy at a luau and get the Hawaiian experience, and I went to it,
That's
and
right.
it's actually quite good. And he was part of their troupe as a fire dancer. That's how he got into entertainment, as far as I know. But I think
Cool.
it's great, dude. Of
Me too.
course, we want to see Black Adam get in a huge kick up and dust up with Superman, who ends up taking him out in the end. Of course,
Yeah.
it'll probably be Lois who will do something, I'm sure, to save the day as well. But
Oh, don't speak that into the universe, Chester. Just
dude,
don't
but
do it.
but no, of course we want this. We desperately want this, and I love the fact that he's stopped. Because he, I wonder if he got in trouble for this because he's just like, stop asking me a goddamn question. The whole point is to have Superman versus Black Adam. Of course,
Yeah,
dumbass. That's what he says,
yeah.
right? And I wonder if he got in trouble because he's under NDA. He is.
I think because the cat's out of the bag about Henry being back as Superman, they're probably just gonna be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's what every fan wants.
Oh
Every
yeah.
single one of us is like, yes, please, more of this. Feed me this now. I would like to eat it and consume it immediately. But they have to build to it, which is smart. Because he said the purpose of the Black Adam movie is obviously to introduce Black Adam, but it's also, and more so even, to introduce the JSA and all the heroes of the JSA. So that's also very smart. See, it seems like they took a step back and they're like, listen, we're doing this stupid. Let's do it smart. Let's slow down. Let's start with the more obscure characters and build to the bigger ones. That makes a lot of sense because you can build hype to the bigger one.
Yeah, that's what
So
Marvel
that's
did.
kind of what they're doing. Yeah, it's exactly what Marvel did. People forget how obscure Iron Man was as a character.
Oh
Everybody
yeah.
kind of knew of him, but nobody really knew him. And then Iron Man came and was a huge success, and then they were off to the races. But they had what, two Hulk movies before they had the Iron Man movie, or one or two,
Yeah.
and then they finally did the Iron Man movie, and it just blew up. Right? Obviously, that movie's still great. I love the first Iron Man movie. Um,
Yeah,
But
no, it
that's the
is
way
good.
to do this.
Yeah.
You have to lay your foundation. The reason why it doesn't have any impact at all when Superman dies in Batman vs Superman is because nobody cares because we haven't laid out the groundwork. There's
No,
no
it was
foundation.
so dumb. It was so
Oh, so
truncated.
dumb. So
they
dumb.
they've really screwed up. We all agree.
Yeah.
But I've been reading Iron Man since I was little, right?
Hmm.
And even as a person who religiously read Iron Man, there's only been two good Iron Man runs. Two. There's an occasional comic that'll pop up, usually with him versus the Mandarin. But there's only two runs that were actually good in Iron Man. One was Devil in the Jar, I think it's called.
Bottle.
Uh,
Bottle.
which the bottle, I think my brain keeps
Yeah.
wanting to say jar, but it's when it's his deal with his
That's fine.
alcoholism, right? And the other one was
Yeah.
much more recent here in the 21st century,
Yeah.
Extremis, which
Which
they
that they
screwed
did
that up.
terribly.
They did
Yeah.
horribly, yeah.
They did the exact same thing, just less worse. Not as bad as the Batman vs Superman, but they did the same thing. They just kind of threw it in, and that doesn't work. Like you got to
No,
lay the groundwork, you got to lay the foundation before you get to these big stories. So if that's what Black Adam is for, I'm all for it. They've got the right guy run as the front man because he's The Rock and he's a mega star. He's the mega star in
he is.
Hollywood.
He is.
So they're doing everything right. The way they're marketing this movie is right. There's none of this nonsense coming out of anybody about racism or bigotry. You don't hear none of it. They're just marketing like a movie, like The Rock always does, because he's smart. He's a smart businessman. He's out here, pushing his movie the way he does, and it's been wonderful to see. So far, every move I've seen that they've made with this movie, aside from the fact that Black Adam's not going to really be Black Adam, we all know that, but he's going to be close. And the
He'll have
point of
some
this
edge
movie,
on him. Yeah, he'll have some
yeah,
edge on him.
the point of this movie is to get the JSA over, which is awesome because that's what they need to do because the JSA is awesome. Uh, and then that can lead us into more Superman and more other stuff. And obviously, the second Shazam movie's coming, which is also going to be a part of this equation. All of this is good stuff. All of this is smart. They're actually building. They're trying to build the DCEU into something like the MCU, which makes sense because I've said from the beginning DC should be killing this. Marvel showed you how. All you had to do was do it,
Yeah.
and you should be kicking their ass. Your
And
heroes are bigger names. They're more recognized. They're better by and large, like Superman and Batman.
they're more
Everybody would,
adult.
yes, everybody knows them. And what I mean by better is they have better market share. They have better penetration. Everybody knows them. There's no reason you should be losing this, but you are because you keep doing things wrong. Do them right, and you'll win. And I think this is the beginning of them doing it right. I
Although
genuinely do.
I am not happy with them. We was Kang's Hawkman. I'm not happy with it. However, I do want to make one comment before I forget. I don't know if Eric is listening, but if he is, I'm going to admonish him. Yes. Um. So I went and by his, I should have learned by
Uh-oh.
now. I went and I watched a little thing from Marvel called Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
Let me just find the little thing they had here. Well, you see it. Oh, here we go. This is perfect. This is perfect. Yes, we'll go with this. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to blow it up full screen.
Uh-oh.
Monkey Boy here. Now,
I just look like a monkey.
Eric, yeah, there he is. So I went and at the behest of Eric, I watched a Werewolf by Night. And
Uh-oh.
it's only an hour, so it was, it could have been worse. But here's the thing. Um, it's one of the most god awful things I've seen this year. It's so
Damn.
bad. Dude, the production value is way low, right? The
Oh,
acting is
God.
atrocious, especially the old lady. My God, dude. And I don't give a shit if it's spoilers, guys. This is shit. It's so bad.
What is
Look
it
at
like?
this is your
Is it?
werewolf, by the way. Look at it. Look at it.
That is ridiculous. He
My
does look
wife
like
said,
an
"Is
ape
he a
man.
monkey?" And I was like, "No, baby. It's a werewolf."
No. Yeah. First of all, where's his snout? I thought he's a werewolf. You got no snout?
Yeah,
What's
but
going
it's
on
the
here?
hair. He's got actually human hair. Oh my God, it's so bad, dude. It's so bad. The only positive thing I will say is Man Thing looked great, but he
That's
was
good.
the comedic. He was there for comedic relief. That's the only
Now I have
reason
to
he was
ask.
in there,
I
right?
haven't seen it, so I have no idea.
No,
Was
he
it
was. He
supposed?
looked great though. But everything else was shit. It was super cheap. The acting was horrible, horrible. I
But my
mean,
question, Chester, in the middle of your rant here, was it supposed to be?
no,
Was it
no.
supposed to be like over the top, campy style bad acting?
Yeah, as if the '60s was full of bad acting. Really?
What? That's
Because
I
that's what
bet
they're
it
doing
could have
back. And
been.
my wife and I looked at each other and we were like, did they put this in black and white because it was so damn cheap they wanted to hide it? Because that's how it feels. That's how it feels. They're, oh, we're going for nostalgia look. Fuck, you are. That isn't retro. That's you guys made shit. It's so bad, dude. I haven't watched a lot of Marvel stuff recently because I'm just done, right? So I don't
Yep.
know, and I've heard She-Hulk is an absolute train wreck.
Oh yeah.
But I haven't watched a lick of it, right? I'm not gonna watch it, right? But this was really, really bad. It was so incredibly bad. Eric, I love you, man. I love you. But you got the worst taste of anyone I know. Eric.
Oh no, I know somebody worse. Don't worry. I know somebody worse. I won't mention his name because he's not here to defend himself. But I have never seen a man have the most wrong opinions about media all of the time. It's actually impressive, and to be honest, Grimlock knows who I'm talking about. We know him. This guy has. I love him,
Yes.
but his opinions on media is just. It's just awful. There's no excusing it. There's no way to talk around it. I haven't seen this, so I have no idea. But I'll say from this image, I am not impressed. That looks like
Look at him.
something a high school play could put together.
Dude,
Honestly,
he
genuinely.
literally has the human hair up top. It's so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. And the thing was, they should have called it Bloodstone anyway, because it's nothing to do with him. This is about Ella Bloodstone, just like we said. Fine, call it Bloodstone. Much cooler name anyway, right?
That is a good name.
But he plays a minor part in it, and it's oh my god, it's so bad. Eric, Eric, Eric. Every point is bad, Eric. It's literally like a PBS special.
Are you telling me that Marvel and Disney have successfully inundated our boy Eric so much that he just likes it because he can't, like, his sense has gone, his nerve, his sensitivity to what is good and bad has been deadened by Disney's bullshit? Is that what
I
we're hearing? That's what I'm hearing.
I think Marvel cucked him. I'm not off mark 100%, not at all. I sat and watched it with my wife, Eric. I sat down. We're going to have dinner. I was like, here, let's watch. My friend said I should watch this. It's only an hour. She's like, okay. So we were sitting down during dinner watching it, and of course after, and my wife just kept looking at me, blamingly, is because it's so bad. The acting is so bad, dude. I can't believe Marvel produced it. I mean, go watch it yourself. Go watch it and then
I don't
chastise,
want to.
admonish Eric.
I don't want to. You can't make me, and I shan't. I shall not.
Dude, it's nowhere near the old Universal shows. Those things are way, way better than this. This thing was bad, dude.
Well,
Anyway,
that was my question: is if they were trying to emulate that acting, right, from those
they
old
they
shows.
might have, but boy, did they fail. I mean, that old lady is really bad, dude. She's so bad. And there's not a lot of dialogue from many people, but when they do speak, it's like whoa. And it's got that Penny Dreadful girl in it playing Elsa Bloodstone, and
Mhm.
she's certainly getting older, but that's okay. Elsa doesn't have to be a young girl; it's not necessary.
Sure.
But she was. Very I've seen her do way better. The dude playing Werewolf by Night, who he reminded me of? Taiki Watiti.
Oh God. Oh, don't say that.
I'm saying it because it's true. Oh, he
Ooh.
was bad, dude. The man thing looked great though, and even though he was only
Oh
there for comedic
no.
relief, that was cool. But so if you got to watch it, just to see the couple little quick little blips of man thing showing up, all right, fine. But my God, dude, my God, Eric, I'll never trust you again, ever, never.
See, at least when
I
I
know.
tell you that, Chester, I'm usually right. I'm gonna see Black Adam when it comes out. I'm gonna be there on release day, one way or the other, by hook or by crook, even if I have to go alone, because I am very excited for this. I don't particularly care about The Rock in a movie. His movies don't usually do anything for me. But I have wanted DC to get off their ass and do this right since day one. I think I've always said that DC's universe is better. Like overall, the cosmology of it and everything is just better. So if they can get this right, we could have another decade potentially of great superhero films. I would
Yeah,
like
no,
that, please.
it would be cool. It would be cool, especially if we had proper thinking ones. But
Yeah.
just so you know, Eric, after watching, because it's Halloween, so I tend to watch more movies in October than any other time. I went and watched the movie called The Accursed, which is probably the 50th movie with that title, but the most recent one. And had Meg Foster in it, which is why she was fresh on my mind. Uh, Very small company, very B movie, 1,000 times better than frickin' Marvel's Werewolf by Night. Unbelievable. Anyway, let's move on.
You have successfully triggered Eric. He is successfully
He's
and
he's
fully triggered.
taking my like away. All right, thanks, Eric.
It,
He's not even gonna come in and argue with me. Fine,
Yep.
fine. I win,
He's so
dude.
triggered, he won't even argue.
I win. All right, next.
Now, this man is absolutely a hero, and he deserves a statue in his honor. Yu-Gi-Oh! Creator Kazuki Takahashi died trying to save people from drowning. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's
no, there
heroic.
were there was some rescue thing going on. And he tried to help with it, and he died.
Yeah.
And they
Which
lost
is
track
why
of
you
his
shouldn't
body
do
for a
that,
while.
people.
Right.
Just as a, you don't do that unless you know what you're doing because it's very easy to get caught up and take yourself out. They teach lifeguards this all the time. Protect yourself before you protect the person you're going after for that reason. Because it's
Yeah.
very easy to get caught up and then you're drowning now. Now you're done.
Yeah.
We're not aquatic. Humans aren't, as much as we pretend to be.
Yeah, and he did. He was trying to help people, and it cost him his life. It's a
Yeah.
shame, but I saw them talking about this on Japanese news, so the Japanese are aware of it, and they have praised him for that and warned him.
Good.
So the Japanese are handling it correctly, but I'm sure there's a Twitter feed that is blaming him for the death of the Pope or
Some nonsense, yeah.
alien invasion
It,
or something. Yeah,
I think if we burn Twitter to the ground, and I mean the actual buildings and the servers, all of it, the world would be a better place. I
probably,
just genuinely,
probably.
yeah,
But there's not much here. I just want to put this up because it was in the Discord. And once again, if you guys have ideas and things you want us to talk about, throw them in the Discord. I do look at them at least before, once a week. Yeah.
yeah.
But anyway, yeah, no, it's a shame he passed away, and he was trying to help people, but yeah, it's a shame. And he was an older man, 60 years old, and you got to kind of know your limits. I mean, I'm not as old as that, but I'm certainly gotten older, and I used to be an absolute bulldog, right? But I'm
Yep.
much more cautious in my age now than I was when I was younger, right? Because I know I don't have the push, right, that I used to
Well,
have.
not only that, even if you're a really, really good swimmer. So my father, for instance, great swimmer, swam his whole life. No, never had any trouble in the water. When he was in Portugal one time on a trip with the church, he got in the ocean, and like I said, he's never had any trouble swimming. He's always been strong. Undertow got him, dragged him out, way out, and he nearly drowned. It took a bunch of the kids like that were with him swam out and got him. But he said he'd never experienced anything like that. Like it was the
Yeah.
power of the ocean. There was just nothing he could do.
Oh,
He was toast.
water is scary, dude.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true. I almost died myself in a similar situation.
Yep.
Yeah,
Gotta
and
be
I'm
careful. That's why I
I'm
don't
in.
go in the ocean. I'm like, listen, there's undertow, there's sharks, there's giant colossal
Yeah,
squids. What do I got? I don't need to be
that's
in
true.
there.
That is true.
I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah. But anyway, moving on from this, but you know, good on you for trying, dude. But it's a shame to have lost you. 60's way too young. Anyway, moving on.
And he's the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh, which is a beloved franchise. If
It
any, I
is.
mean, he needs remembered significantly
Well,
in Japan and around the world, especially if he went out as a hero. That's pretty cool.
every now
It's
and
pretty
then I
cool.
still see kids playing it. Here in Japan, Duel Master is still king, but I see Yu-Gi-Oh every now and then. So it still exists here. I don't know about in the West, but
Oh, it's all over the West still. Yeah, people play it all the time. Even here, I can go to a local shop and they'll be playing it. The
anyway.
Supreme Court meets Andy Warhol prints and a case that could threaten creativity. Just all of it, the entire idea of creativity.
Well, now I
That's
saw this in the Discord. This is another Discord one, and I
a
put
heck
it
of a
up mainly
case.
because I get to put NPR on the channel, and that's just hilarious to me. Okay. But anyway, this is an interesting thing. There was a lady, her name, it doesn't really matter, but there's a lady in here, Lynn Goldsmith, who way back when was like a pretty big photographer to the stars, and she did a lot of stuff, took a lot of pictures. And as she's doing these things, Andy Warhol likes to take photography and just do weird photoshopping with it. He's dead now, but
Yeah,
I think he's dead. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
pretty
And
sure.
and then call it art, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Andy's amazing," and it's like, oh, okay. Fine. But that's subjective as art. But anyway, a company recently took one of the orangey ones here and paid $10,000 to use it for something or another. And there's a lawsuit from the Goldsmith estate in regards to it, that there should be money to her because it's her original photography. And the Supreme Court is taking up the case. We don't know. Of course, they haven't voted yet, but it's ongoing. But what it brings up is, what is considered to be actual creative change. If you take something from someone else and then you change it, kind of like what we do here in a minor way, how much is necessary for that to be considered your own unique piece of art? That's the question at hand. And it's a
Hmm.
pretty serious one, really. I know, Andy Warhol and Prince, what? But actually, depending on how the Supreme Court votes on that, it could have incredible impact, right?
Yeah.
Because the most of your SNS these days is built upon people taking things from other people and then doing some kind of significant change, big air quotes, to it, therefore making it their own. Keep in mind that we here as well. We are news readers. We're not news makers. We're not news gatherers.
Right.
We're just news readers. And it goes much deeper than that with artistic representation. Here we have a photograph that Andy Warhol just did his stupid little shit to, right? Because Andy Warhol is a freaking moron.
Yeah.
But what, I don't even care your opinion on it because that's not art. That's just taking photography and putting some color, watercolor on it, right?
Yeah.
But yet the question is that enough?
Well, if you're asking me, I think this entire case is ridiculous. I don't believe in copyright for art, period. So I
Well,
would go way more radical than anybody else it would, and I'd say no, the entire concept is ridiculous. There's no, first of all, it's unenforceable, and second of all, even if it was enforceable, is that really the world we want to live in, where art becomes nothing but a corporate commodity that they can control at all times? I don't want to live in that world. So I
well,
think the very idea of it is stupid. It's misguided.
the
I understand
juxtaposition.
why artists do it because they don't want their stuff stolen. I get that, but at the same time, if you're the original creator and you're good, you don't really have to worry too much about someone stealing it because you can just make another that's just as good.
Right, but I mean, the juxtaposition to that is Goldsmith's photograph,
Yeah.
and the fact that they feel it's been stolen and manipulated, and they're not getting their rights. Now,
Yeah.
when you get into the depth of what is art, I mean, is photography art? Because in all honesty, who's the real artist here? Well, I'd say Prince was. He's the one that
Mm,
created this look. He's the one that's decided to wear these clothes and do this thing. He's the actual art himself. You just
that's a
took a
fair point.
picture.
Fair point. Well, and
Right.
also the machine, right? If your camera's foobarred, then it doesn't matter what you do, right? If something happens with the film, well, back when they had film, which they did when they did this, something happens with that. Something happens in the digital transfer. There's all sorts of stuff that can happen with a picture that's completely out of the artist's control. So how can it? You say just flat out that it's equivalent to like a painting? I don't think it is. I actually agree with you. But the question they're asking is how far does copyright go and fair use go?
Mhm.
And my answer is there should be no copyright on art. I think it's ridiculous. Corporate greed is the only reason why that exists.
Right.
Because I'm sorry to tell you, and I look, I have great respect for artists' abilities. I do, and I think you all should be paid. This idea that you must own your art is completely antithetical to art. It
Yeah,
just is.
but I do understand the commercialism of it and the
I do
capitalistic
too.
aspect of it. And we have a lot of artists on this channel, I'm sure, have opinions. But this Supreme Court decision could be impactful, dude. It's not
Yes.
nothing. It's not nothing. And I agree, Elrod. Warhol was more of a cultural icon than anything. He wasn't much of an artist. He was big in the music scene, the drug scene, the gay scene, the sex scene. That was his thing. He was like this, you know, rebellious youth and sexual decadent, or icon is what Andy Warhol was. I never
Right.
thought any of his art was useful or of any interest. Even the one thing he actually that I know he painted, which was the Campbell's can, which is like
Yeah.
fuck off, Warhol. I grew up in a time where he was alive and kicking. Yeah.
Right.
Unlike many people here, and I always thought he was an absolute fucking wreck of a human.
Yeah, he
But
is.
nevertheless, I'm going to keep an eye on this actually, because I'm curious as to what the
It's
Supreme
kind
Court
of a
will say.
shame that Prince isn't alive because he could almost make your argument and end this whole thing. Like, wait a
Yeah,
minute. Wait a minute. This is a picture of my face. Why is anybody else in this conversation but me?
that's right. No, and it's fair. It's a fair argument because
Yeah.
he's the one that created the image that was worthy of being photographed, right?
Right. Right. Now
Now,
I can get behind the idea of copyright for your own image of you personally. That's fine. I think that's fine. I just don't like it for especially an image of somebody else. That's ridiculous. Like how do you own that? I don't
right?
care I don't care what you did to it. It's still a picture of somebody else.
It is,
How do
and
you claim you have rights to that? That's
and
that's silliness.
and what is art and photography, in my opinion, is very different than obviously Warhol's because it's just a
Yeah.
photograph. You like, oh, I like that one. Throw some colors on it, right? Because that's all he did, right? And
Yeah.
put a whole bunch of them in a grid. Um, but when I was a kid, my mother absolutely hated it. But on my wall, I had this big old picture. I've always had art. I'm a art lover. And it was a picture of this naked lady that was holding up a bunch of branches above her head, and they had painted her body, and it was all black and it was black and white photography, but they had painted her body to look like wood, and it's as if this woman is becoming a tree, and it was
Mhm.
really well done. It was beautiful. And that is art when you're talking about photography, because they took
Right.
they created something and then took the image of it. That's art, in
That's
my opinion. Taking some random photo of some celebrity you've seen and just throwing some colors on it is not art, in my opinion.
I
That's
agree.
more logoing or
I would
uh, you
also
know,
say that the picture is just the medium, right? The photograph is just the medium of the art. The art itself is the image, is whatever it's showing. So again, I think your argument is actually really good, and it's a shame that it's not even being brought up. How can anybody but Prince claim that, or the Prince
yeah,
estate, I guess now,
yeah.
because he is the image.
He is the
So it's
art.
his face. He is the art, not the picture. The picture's just a little thing. It's nothing. It's film or whatever.
Hmm.
It's pixels at best.
Hmm.
But the combination of them that make his face was the art.
It is.
So yeah, I think your argument's the best one as far as in this context. Now, if you were to go to my worldview, nobody should have that argument because it's silly.
Right.
But if we're going to stay in the bounds of the law, I think yours it'd be an interesting argument to hear what the Supreme Court or just jurists in general what their argument would be against
Yeah,
it.
I'm going to pay attention. Although I think these artists in here probably hate you now,
That's okay.
but anyway, and Prince is an interesting thing because he kind of falls in a similar category to say Lady Gaga. Now I take
Yeah.
Prince any day over Gaga, but I think
Yeah.
they're both incredibly talented. Though I would never take
Yeah.
anything away from her. But because Prince was very skilled songwriter, lyricist, music creator. He was a musician unparred. I mean, the guy, when you listen to Prince album, every instrument you hear is him, right?
Yeah.
Um,
The
and
absolute best Super Bowl halftime show ever was
oh, he
Prince.
killed it
Not even
in
close.
the rain
Not
too, and
even
he
close.
just did
Yeah.
he did not give
Murdered it.
one shit. Yeah.
Murdered it.
Um, but
Yeah.
um, but Prince, even though he had all that incredible amount of talent, he knew he needed a hook, and he created
Yep.
one in himself. And he's a very little man too, so he had to go above and beyond. And whether you like what he did or not, he did create that hook, and that is the image of Prince himself, right?
Yeah.
And these kind of artists are quite rare. There's another artist who is does the same thing as Prince that I bet you guys don't even know that he does. Very famous, super famous musician. That especially with the youngins, your age group, Thundero. Super
Oh boy.
famous guy. On his albums, he did all the instruments, played them himself, did all the vocals, and then when he wanted to go tour, he put a band together for that. Same thing Prince
Talk
did.
about Dave Grohl.
Yes, I am, sir.
Yeah, first Foo Fighters album.
First two
Uh,
or three?
yeah, that was
Yep.
Yeah,
that was all him. Yeah, no, he is a literal prodigy when it comes to music. The dude
yeah,
can play everything, and he's been able to do it for years. Because
yeah.
he was a teenager when he was in Nirvana, a teen, like 16 years old or something like that. So it's impressive. Some people just have that; they're just gifted with it. They just have this
Mhm.
musical aptitude that others don't, and he's one of them.
And
Prince was one of them, just
yeah, no,
gifted.
Prince is definitely one of them. Absolutely, very talented human. And so is Lady Gaga. I mean,
Yeah,
but she's so ugly that she had to create a shtick, and she did. And well, dude, it worked. It
it did
worked
work.
because that girl can sing, dude.
So, like Canada said over here, this is why I think the
Yeah,
idea
I
of being able
agree.
to copyright art is ridiculous because that actually did happen.
It
Randy
did.
Orton's tattoo artist won the case and got his tattoos removed from all future games. That is utterly ridiculous.
Well,
It's greed
why would you remove them
manifest,
though? That's dumb.
and it's on your skin. It's on Randy's skin. Like, how can you claim it just because you drew it? But it's on his flesh. He's wearing it. If anybody has a claim to it, it's Randy, for crying out loud. But this idea that all art must be protected in this way is just, it's gross. And that's
Yeah,
why it's
and,
stuff like that is
yeah,
gross. It's
which is why it'll
weird.
be interesting to see what the Supreme Court does, especially
Yeah.
seeing as we have a majority constitutionally based Supreme Court right now, and
Yep.
that'll be interesting. And Alan says he believes Steve Tyler's like that. Steven Tyler's like that. Maybe he is. But my point is, you need a hook, right? I can do
Yeah.
that. I can play every instrument that my band
Mhm.
has. Right now, I can't do it as well as the specific people I have, but I could do it. But I don't have a
Right.
hook, right? I don't have anything like that to make myself famous. And a lot of people do have hooks and they don't. It's there's a lot of luck involved. And Prince, as
A
hardworking as he
missing link
was, right?
playing a saxophone is not a hook.
No, it's not. Well, I mean, I could play guitar, I could play piano, I could play drums, I can do all that, right? But
Uh,
I don't, they're not necessarily at the highest level, but good enough to cut an album, especially a pop album, right? But I'm just saying, you need your hook and you need a lot of luck,
See,
and Prince got all of
see,
that.
you're in the wrong genre. See, if you'd have just called yourself Silverback and started playing the blues, you'd have had your hook.
Maybe, maybe, maybe.
that's actually not a bad idea. Silverback. That's a good name for a blues musician. That
Yeah.
don't suck.
But anyway, rest in peace, Prince, because I know a lot of people probably don't like Prince, but I've always appreciated him.
I actually have grown to like him a lot more since he died. His I don't know if it's just because I've gotten older and now can appreciate how amazing of an artist he was when it came to just musically, just functionally, just the ability he had was unbelievable.
Yeah.
But also, I've
All,
found out a lot more things about the man, and I'm like, huh, he knew what was up. This man
No,
was
he
not
did.
dumb.
No, he was not dumb, and he's a lot like Dave Bowie in a way.
Yeah,
David Bowie, back in when I was young, is like, oh, he's gay and stuff. No, he's not. He wasn't gay
no,
at all. It's a shtick.
and
Same with Prince. He's very effeminate, but no, this dude has had so much tang, dude.
yeah, it's
and
ridiculous.
also, if you want to be able to peacock and say you have some really rare comics, those Prince DC comics from the early '90s, really rare, goes for quite a bit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, anyway, I'll move on from this. I just thought it was in. I think this is from Somali, maybe. But somebody in the Discord, I popped it up, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. I'll pay attention to that." But let's move on here to. I got a lot. I got a few. Let's just get into this one here. This one's hilarious.
YouTuber Vara Dark dismisses Hogwarts Legacy anti-Semitic goblin accusations as journalists desperate to incite a boycott.
Okay.
I love the fact, I genuinely love it, that there are these, and let's call them what they are, these Jewish aggrieved, these people who out here, like your ADL and stuff, who are looking for a reason for a Jewish person to be upset. Right? They're looking for anti-Semitism and bigotry in places where it simply doesn't exist. This idea that goblins, which are pretty much Tolkien goblins, are an anti-Semitic trope is what are we saying right now?
Well, it's because
Like
they're bankers. That sounds pretty
I
racist to
guess
me. You
Yeah,
know,
that's what I'm saying. Like, what are you saying to me? You're saying that the only way something with a big nose and big ears could be anything as a representation in the world is it has to be a Jew, especially if it likes gold. That's preposterous. All you're saying is you believe the stereotypes against you are real. That's all you're doing. Because if you see this thing that is not you and you say, that's me, you're just projecting. That's all you're doing. Because I hate to tell these people, this image with the big nose and the pointy ears and everything is around the whole world. Every culture has a monstrous creature that looks like this.
yeah, of course.
All of them.
Because it's abnormal. Because Jews don't
Yeah,
actually look like that. Anyway,
correct.
but
They look like human beings,
yeah, they
right?
look like
Whoa!
humans, right? But it is funny because they're doing everything they can to try to destroy this video game, which is selling
I
like
think it's gonna,
gangbusters.
yeah, it's gonna kill.
And their boycott is not working at all, even though they claim it is. It is not. This thing is making incredible amounts of money, as it should. But they're so desperate. This is a good word that Ryan used here: desperate to incite a boycott, because that's what they're desperate about. And this
Yeah.
YouTuber Ver Dark simply said, "Yeah, this is nonsense. What are you talking about?" Because in the Hogwarts game, the general overarching campaign, I'm sure there's a lot of side quests you can do. Is There is a Goblin rebellion going on. And you're kind of thrown into it as a Hogwarts student,
Yeah.
and they're upset about their oppression and stuff like that because they've been oppressed or prejudiced against. And they are bankers and they are stealing and eating children, which is another trope around the world, by the way.
Mhm.
But the funny thing is that how little anyone actually cares about these people. Now, keep in mind that these socialists, because let's just start calling them what they are. Okay, socialists. They're not Democrats. They're not liberal. They're socialists. All right. If you haven't noticed, one of the groups that the socialists hate are Jews,
Yeah.
right? Matter of fact, over in their Britain, that place where they have that thing called Labor, that party, the big power. There's the Tories and Labor, right?
Hmm.
Labor, their leadership is constantly yelling at their members to stop being anti-Semitic, constantly
Yeah.
because they hate the Jews, right? Socialists hate the Jews because they do control a lot of banking in the world, right? And they hate that. They have to fight against that because they want to take all the money and distribute it evenly amongst themselves. Wink, wink. But they do. They hate the Jews. And there's a reason why these socialists have embraced Islam so much, even though it makes no sense to the rest of us, because it's like, well, they don't like gays very much, guys. They don't really agree with you on many things. Why are you siding with the Muslims? But they are, and it's because you're my enemy. The enemy on my enemy is my friend. Right? That's
Right.
the reality. That's why they support the Muslims so much, because you got to get them damn Jews. So the funny thing is, these people who are calling for the boycott because of the racism,
Yeah.
they are the actual racist. You can prove it over and over and over and over again. And Eric here made a very interesting point, because in Britain and in Europe, we do have a lot of these idiots that are demonstrating their anger at the world in general. And he says one of the girls who threw the soup at the Van Gogh painting over the weekend was named Ziggy Stardike. Of course she was.
I
Of
hope them
course.
two girls got their ass whooped.
Well, I mean, if we'd
I
start
really do.
whooping ass more, we'd have less problems.
That's
Yeah, no,
factual.
them. The other one I saw where they're throwing milk down on the ground at the grocery store. No, I know some people say violence doesn't solve anything. Bullshit. Violence solves a lot,
Well,
and the
Violence
threat of
solves everything.
it
It might not
does.
be a
and
solution you want, but it solves every
and
problem.
and the threat of violence solves a lot.
That's right.
Well, I s-
People who you could tell these are people who act without a fear of consequence. Consequence, you know, puts the fear of God in people.
right.
These
No, it's
people need
true.
their ass
It's
whooped.
true. They do. And I saw a video not too long ago that's a perfect example of that. There was a bunch of black people that are, they're activists of some kind,
Yo, yo,
BLM
yo.
probably, that were yelling at white people for being white. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was mainly this one black girl, this little skinny thing, that was just screaming at them about how horrible white people are and they just need to just die and go away. Right. But the thing I kept my eye on was there was this little black guy who was like, he was Cheston. right? He was, I don't know what you guys call it, but he was, popping his chest out, acting like he was badass, trying to get in these white guys' face, and he actually pushed the white guy once, and the white guy
Mm.
just did nothing. Now, me personally, you scream and yell all you want, I suppose, but you put your hand on me, I'm going to break your ass. I
Yeah,
will absolutely break your ass. Especially, and even if it's a big buck, I don't not give a shit. That's not the point. It does me winning or not is not the point. It is not. It's the principle of it. But I saw that and I was like, because there's no reason for you to give these white people trouble anyway. They're literally just you're yelling at them for being white. But if that dude it pushed me, he would have been laid out immediately, laid out. And I don't understand why we're not seeing more of that. And it comes back to the cowardice we're seeing in the West. And I want to yell and scream it from a mountaintop. We see this guy literally raping a girl on a New York subway while people watch.
yeah, that wouldn't
We
happen.
keep coming back to that, and there's many
No.
examples, right? There's thousands of examples of this, but that is the most egregious. There is no
It's
way
yeah,
there's no way I would stand by and let that happen,
no,
ever. And
no,
once again, I don't care if I die or get my ass beat. It isn't. It's
yeah,
not a. I'm not sitting here. It's not an ego statement. It's not. It's just
yeah,
there's no way I could possibly not do something. It's just this. It's impossible. I would have to react. I wouldn't even
yeah. Me too.
think.
It would just be an instant reflex.
Yeah.
It's this idea that I've heard some people online mention there's you have to be surrounded by people. You should be, especially as a man, surrounded by people who you know that if a bunch of guys roll up on you and they're looking to hurt you or kill you even with weapons, say machete, say a bunch of guys roll up on you with knives.
Yeah. Which we're
If
seeing
you
become bigger
if
and
your
bigger now.
boy is with you, the only thought in both of your head is either no one's dying or we're both dying. And if it's not that, then you're with cowards. Simple as that.
Mm,
Meaning you should have the honor and the integrity and the valor to stand by your people. And if you're on a subway and you're seeing some innocent person be raped, which every person being raped is innocent, uh,
yeah.
and you do
By
nothing,
definition. Right.
yeah, you're just not even a
Yeah.
human
I
being.
don't.
I'm
I
sorry,
can't
I
understand
don't.
it. Yeah.
I can't grant you the title of human to just sit there and watch that happen.
No, no. You're
Uh,
vile. You're
that
more
would be
egregious to me than the rapist, actually.
yeah, that's what be my mindset. Either that's going to stop or I'm going to die stopping it. Simple
Yeah.
as that.
Yeah, once again, it's not an ego statement. It's because
No.
it's not assured that I'm going to win anyway. I might well get my ass absolutely obliterated. That's not the
Yeah,
point. That is beyond the point. Maybe it is the exact point, right? But this is connected to all of this stuff because the only good thing I'm seeing here is that although physically we're not seeing any pushback against this, and we're seeing how far it's going now. It's really really bad. At least in the voting booths and economically, people are have still a little courage left.
yeah,
Because as hard as they have tried to cancel this J.K. Rowling thing because she's so egregious to them, they have failed miserably and they have tried so many things, and now the great racism against the Jews, the anti-Semitism,
yeah.
is coming out when we all know these people are the biggest anti-Semites you will ever find.
I've
Semites,
seen
I
this
like that
thing
word.
with the goblins in
Cenobite.
other games too. This idea that there's some kind of trope for Jews,
Hmm.
and I just say, what are we saying right now? All you're saying is that the stereotype is true in your mind. If you see
Yeah,
that creature
that's the
and you
problem.
think this is a Jew, or you see an orc and you're like, that's a black person, your brain is fucked up. Not my brain for not looking at that and be like, oh, Jew, clearly. Oh, orc, clearly. No, no, my brain's normal because it's clearly a green skinned monster. That's what it is. It's not got nothing to do with anybody else. My brain's functioning properly in the way the author intended. Your brain is addled,
And
and you need to do something about it.
here's the funny thing. I guarantee you, the creators of this game, and this because we don't know yet, right? Because it's not
Yep.
out yet. People are just pre-buying it. That the creators of this game in this story, I guarantee you, the goblins are sympathetic.
Yeah, some degree. Yeah, sure.
I bet you they are.
Um, I bet you Ranrock has a perfectly valid reason for his rebellion, right?
I'm
And
sure.
well, at least, or especially from his point of view, obviously, or he wouldn't be doing it. So that's one of the things that, aside from Voldemort, Harry Potter's villainous characters typically do have a reason that's understandable.
That's true.
Um,
Voldemort
and
doesn't
that's a
though.
good thing. No, yeah, he's just evil, which is fine. You can have that. Um, but that's a good thing. That's how you know you have a good writer. And I don't see any reason why this game would be different, right? Why would they come in here and be
No,
like, nope, the goblins are just all bad all the time, and you got to stop them? When we
no, no,
know
no,
from
no,
the
no,
from the lore of Harry Potter, that's not the case. The goblins aren't evil by nature. There are evil ones, but there's not evil by nature.
no.
Um,
And the hype on this game is actually palpable. It might well be. This might be a really, really, really good game.
no, I actually do think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. It's what I think a lot of people. I'm not even like a big Harry Potter fan, but it's still a great idea. I can make my own wizard and just be a wizard. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do a
Well,
lot of that.
Yeah.
keep in mind they've been trying to find reasons to,
Oh yeah.
cancel this game since the game was announced. Whether it was the unapproved guy Troy Levitt being one of the people working on the game, to where they chased him off of it.
Yep.
And again, this is why I keep telling people you can't give these people nothing.
No,
Nope.
You
and it
can't,
all comes out of the
because
fact that J.K. Rollins has said very simply that you as a transgender can live your life any way you want. I'm not against you in that, but you're not a man or you're not a woman. That's all she said. She actually is very supportive of transgenders, but she's
you're
saying
not
you're not
supportive enough.
actually a man or not actually a woman because
Nope,
you're not. You know,
it's
that's
not
what all this is
supportive.
coming out of. It's not supportive enough, yeah, and
She
nor should it
has
be.
she has to be willing to swallow a dude with a 2 foot dick that has a bad breast boob job, and say that's a woman because he said he was a woman.
Yeah, but it's so dumb because it falls into the same category as this. Someone goes out and buys the most awesome panda suit you could ever possibly own, and they spend thousands, right? And they go out into the world and say, I am now a panda. And everyone's like, well, yeah, it's a great costume there. Awesome, dude. But yeah, you're not actually a panda. No,
Yes, but
I am the panda.
this is Chester. This is what happens when you have people who have never heard no through their formative years,
Hmm.
and a lot of these people are mentally ill. There's no nice way to say this,
No, they are
because these are
mentally ill.
not these are not this is not the mind of a normal person.
No,
I don't
no.
care
Yeah.
what people say. Oh well, you say that they're more likely to commit suicide. Well, dude, you're only furthering my fucking case, because
Yeah.
a
Oh, no.
mentally hinged person
We
ain't
need
doing that.
No, we need in earnest to reopen the insane asylums. Yes, we do. I agree. We
And
need to nail the fail
unfortunately,
instantly.
because of the disgusting situation we have in the medical industry, I guess you can say the medical and pharmaceutical industry, where we don't really have doctors anymore. We have professional drug pimps.
Yeah, no, that is the
Uh,
pharmaceutical company's bad.
we don't have we don't have people that are going to sit down and tell these people, look, you can identify as whatever the hell you want. The rest of the world isn't obligated to go along with it, and they're not going to go along with it. You need to work through these issues that you're having, because no, you're not a fucking panda. I don't care how
No,
much
you're
you
not a
spent on the
panda.
suit.
It's true. And I'm glad they didn't have those things when I was a kid because they would have drugged my ass for sure, Thunder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, teachers hated me, dude.
Yeah, there is a serious problem with the over medicalization and almost sterilization in a way,
Oh no,
intellectually,
definitely. Yeah.
of
Physically too.
yeah, of these children. Now I get some kids are, a handful and rambunctious and loud and annoying,
Hmm.
but they're children.
And kids.
That's what they do. Um
Yeah, sure.
and there's a serious, like Grimlock said, I have completely turned long before COVID, I've completely turned on the medical industry. It is an absolute, oh boy, you want to talk about a cartel. That's a
Dude,
cartel.
Oh no, it
I've
is.
been
Yeah.
I've been telling people, like, you're sitting here, you're bitching about the profits that Amazon and Walmart had, but you're not bitching about the profits that Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson had. Get the fuck out of
Well, they
here.
get it
You're not
places.
you're
Yeah.
not serious,
Yeah.
okay? So
Well, anyway, it's failed because this thing is making radical money, and I hope it's
Yep.
as good as it seems to be, because that would be fun. Actually, I'd play that kind of game. I'm not gonna. I do not pre-order things. Yeah.
No, I'm done with that.
But I'm gonna watch, and it might be fun to play. It also might not be for me though. I might be too old. Overall, I'm just happy that at least there's some pushback going on. I just really disappoints me as
It's
far
funny they
as
keep talking about how this game's going to lose a bunch of money.
it's not though.
When it first went on the pre-order, it was top 10 in Steam sales for like 3 weeks straight.
Yeah, no,
That
it's
was pre-orders.
millions and millions and millions. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
yeah,
killing it. Like
it's
there's no doubt in my mind this is going to be one of the biggest releases of all time.
yeah.
Genuinely.
Well, and I hope it's as good as the hype. We'll see.
Yeah.
However, let's move on and to something more fun. And I have a choice for you two gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
Would you rather? And we're getting into Frank territory here. Okay.
Oh God.
So, but you have to make a choice. Would you like the top 10 '90s adventure films, or the top 10 movies starring Nicolas Cage?
Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
Grim,
I knew exactly where he was going to go the moment he got the choice.
Grimlock.
Listen,
Grimlock.
especially
Um,
90s Nicolas Cage was good stuff.
just for shits and giggles, let's go Nicolas Cage for 500, Alex.
Yes, well, I kind of knew that was a choice. That was a fake question. Of course,
No
it's Nicolas
way.
Cage. It's always Nicolas
By
Cage.
by the way, on that other list, two of these movies right here should be on it.
They
Con
probably
Air
are.
and The
They probably
Rock.
are. Matter of fact,
Yeah.
let's scoop through it real quick. Waterworld. Ooh, ooh.
Okay.
That's an interesting one.
Cliffhanger. Okay. Galaxy Quest. Way higher, please. What are you doing?
Yeah, that
Uh,
it's a shame we'll never get another one. Last Action Hero.
fun
Okay.
movie. Fun movie. The Mask of Zorro.
Mask of
Yes.
Zorro. Yep.
Epic.
Yep. Great. Actually, great movie.
A great movie.
Hook.
Hook
Good
was
movie.
fun. Took a while to
Yes.
get its legs though. The Fifth Element,
Fifth
fair.
Element. Yep.
Good movie. Good movie. Jumanji, sure.
I
Sure.
guess. Yeah.
Jurassic
Jurassic
Park,
Park. Sure.
okay.
I put the first Jurassic Park as more of a horror movie. Not The Rock or Con Air made that list. And the Mummy. Oh, the Mummy came out in '99, didn't it? So it
Yeah.
just barely made the
Yeah,
cut.
but The Mummy
But I
was
would have put it.
great
I don't.
though.
Would I put it at number one though? I mean, I'd put
Uh,
Jurassic Park above it if I'm going to put them on the same list. I wouldn't put
fair.
Jurassic Park on an adventure movie list. I'd put it on more of a horror movie list, like a
I
thriller.
get your point. Yeah, no, that's true, especially the
I
first one.
mean, I'm going to be honest. That's not a bad list.
It's not bad. It's not
That
bad.
was a pretty good list. Yeah, that's a pretty
In The
good list.
Mummy, and this is specifically adventure. But that's
Yeah,
not what we're here for.
we're here for
Sorry,
Nick,
we're here for the Nick Man,
the man.
the man himself, and this is the dude that puts up two bad films and then freaking epic. Two bad
Yeah,
films, epic.
that's the formula.
That's the
It's the
formula.
formula.
Yeah, he's got to pay
Yeah.
for them castles. But let's get into it here. Let's see what number 10 is. Frank. Okay.
Ghost
Ghost
Rider.
Rider.
Let's see what the rest of the list is. I don't know. That might be in the right spot. It might not be. I like the first Ghost Rider movie. It's not a good movie, but I
No,
like it.
neither one of them are, and I can enjoy them. But the
Yeah.
first one is certainly better. This is not the first one. This is the second one.
Are you sure? I think that's at the right
No,
at the end
yeah,
Maybe,
that is
maybe.
that's when he goes to
in the
fight
town.
quote
Okay,
unquote Blackheart.
okay.
Yeah, that
There
black
was
part.
there was there was a lot of good things that they did in the movie. There was just things that if it was executed better, it could have really been a good movie.
Yeah, but let's be
Yes,
honest. If it was any other actor in it than Nick Cage, we put this thing in the absolute toilet.
that's true. And if it didn't have the scene with him and Slade riding together, even though it went nowhere because
Yeah, it was
Slade
Yeah,
just
dumb.
like that,
disappears afterwards.
like
Or
that.
I,
You
I'm
have
just
one of the
useless.
coolest scenes, and then
So
Slade
good.
just
He's just
goes
gone.
away.
He's not there anymore.
And
But
you could have
but
easily had them
also,
fighting together for a while, and he got injured, and he's got
Yeah.
to carry on. That's true.
but also, I would say for the most part, I thought the movie. Also, it doesn't get enough credit. I think the movie was well cast for the most part. John Voight as Mephisto, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Uh, Eva Mendes, she was fine. The
She
guy,
was fine. Yes.
I always forget his name, but he ended up playing Harvey Dent in Gotham. He was good.
Yeah, that dude.
Um,
Yeah. No, it's a solid movie.
I
You're
always,
right. You're right. And Mendez, she was fine.
Oh
Damn.
yeah.
oh yes,
Oh yes.
Damn. But anyway, all right. All right. We'll see. I did enjoy it. Yeah. We'll see. Dumb's the name. It should be on there. I agree. Let's see what number 9 is. Okay. Now you're gonna put
Mm,
Snake Eyes on the list. Did you put Bad Lieutenant on the list?
I wouldn't put it above Ghost Rider. If I'm going to put it on the list, I mean, if that's my quality of my Nicolas Cage list, then Ghost Rider's above Snake Eyes, in my opinion. But I haven't seen Snake Eyes in a long time, so it's hard for me to judge.
It's
But I
okay.
don't remember loving it.
It's okay. It's simple, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things we kind of forget about Nick Cage, he's not an actor who plays himself in every movie. He's not like most actors are, right? He
Yes.
actually can be something different, right? Now, I'm not going to put him in the same category, say, a Val Kilmer, who literally or transforms himself, or a Daniel Day-Lewis. But he does have range, you know.
Yeah.
But Snake Eyes, I don't know, Grimlock. Hmm.
Mm,
Tough one because I barely remember it, so I can't totally shit
Well,
on it. But the fact that I barely remember it means it wasn't very memorable. You
it's
know what I'm
all
saying?
yeah, no, it's during a power outage, during a storm, and there's like something happening, like a stadium or a casino or something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. But it was all right. Uh, oh,
Now,
only 8? Are you freaking kidding me?
yeah, that should be higher, definitely.
Frank,
Gone in 60 Seconds is awesome. That's a
this
really good
should
movie.
be the top 3.
Yeah. That's what Nick does best, right? The what was the sympathetic bad guy.
Yeah.
That's still
Yeah.
the hero of the story.
Oh,
He's
this is
really
one of
good
his
at
best
that.
movies though, dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of Angelina Jolie's best movies, in fact.
Yeah, well,
Um,
we just ignore she's in it. So.
no, this is when she was still hot. Come on.
Grimlock?
Before, the wall. Where'd Grimlock go? We lose him?
Well, I think I would say
no, I'm
before
here.
the alien
Oh.
And I'm
insemination.
here too now.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
fine. I don't want you going to give your opinion. Going in 60
Yes.
seconds. Where does it belong in the list, sir?
Snake Eyes was during a boxing match.
Oh, right.
Yes,
Okay.
it
Yeah.
was a
Okay.
boxing
Okay.
match.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Gone in 60 Seconds should be number 2.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I agree with that. Now, how
probably.
can you be
Yeah.
right on that and so wrong about Werewolf by Night?
I don't do crack like
Here's
that.
the question. I'm not even going to put it out there. Number 1 is the question. We'll get there, though. We'll get there.
But yeah, no, this is definitely top 3. I don't know with Frank. Goddamn Frank. All right, let's move on here. Let's move
Do it.
on. All right. Oh my God, Frank!
I don't even know. Is this a movie?
I
Why
watched
is
it.
this-
I watched it. It's nowhere near the top of Nick's stuff, but it's so Nick Cage though.
It's a very recent one, isn't
It
it?
is, and he says he does not speak a single word in this movie, not one.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this doesn't belong on the list. I mean, Frank. Well, it's kind of like when you go on IMDb and you see all these, they give you these top 50 lists, and you
Yeah.
see a bunch of movies in there that haven't even been released yet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing? They're obviously created by youngins, because when you have a top 50 horror, I was searching at the top 50 horror movies of all time, or horror TV shows of all time. It's a bunch of shit that either isn't out or is just brand new, and it's like nowhere near as good as some of the old stuff. I was looking at a list like that the other day, and it didn't even have Dark Shadows on it, Eric.
Wow.
What?
Yeah,
Huh.
it's like what? Or Forever Night, or any of those kind of things. But no,
The
Frank.
rest of this list better be just his crazy hits from the 90s and National Treasure. That better be all the rest of this list is, or me and Frank might have words.
This is a mistake, and to be honest, it should be deeper than that. There's no reason why Drive Angry shouldn't be on this list. There's no reason why
Yeah.
Mandy shouldn't be on this list.
It might be.
Or The
It
Pig,
might be.
right?
It might be. But there's definitely 2 movies from the 90s that need to be on this list that haven't shown up yet.
Well,
so let's see.
We know The Rock is on here for sure.
It better be.
Con Air should be on
yeah,
Or there
it
will
better
be
be.
someone to pay hell. There will be hell to pay.
But there's so
It's
many
not.
choices above this, though, Frank.
Yes.
Let's go on here.
Lord of War.
Okay.
Lord of War is not a terrible movie.
No,
but
it's
not one of his best movies.
Not top 10.
No.
No.
This is one of the more boring Nick Cage movies, actually.
Yes. It's him playing the right character though, a lovable sleazeball.
Frank
But-
is upsetting me. Because we're already too deep in the list for a lot of things that should be on this list.
Yeah. He's got
Face
all right. Number
Off,
5.
probably the most profitable movie he's ever been in. Let's see here. 8 mil. Oh, this is a good movie though.
That
It
is
is
a
a good
good movie.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That scene, I like that scene too. That whole image there, the energy there is good. I like
Yeah, it
that.
is. No, this is
Yeah.
a really good movie. We gotta get
And
Frank on the
Nick
channel.
Cage has been in a lot of good movies.
He
I'm gonna be
has.
honest with you.
He
He
has.
has. Like he
But
doesn't get enough credit.
Nick is awesome. We all love Nick. But we
Yeah.
need to bring Frank onto the show and have a talk to the boy.
Sit him down, put him in his corner. Like,
We do.
listen,
We do. Because
listen, Franklin, what are we doing here?
well, and the past couple of weeks, he's put out like half a dozen of these top 10 lists. He's like going overboard. I just
Yeah,
chose.
no,
What did he say? Superman
Superman better
being
be
put on
on.
this list. It would have been weird to see that. Anyway, let's continue on. 8 mm is a great movie. National
There it
Treasure,
is.
sure,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
sure.
I maybe put it top 3, but that might just be recency bias because it's his last like really big thing that he did.
Well, it's a
But
smart Indiana Jones, is what
yes,
it is.
yes,
It's smart because Indiana Jones is just action, right? And it's fun, and there's nothing wrong with it. But this actually has some intelligence to it.
yep,
So yeah, we all agree this is good for the list. Yes, we do.
yes.
Yes. Unfortunately, they are rebooting it with a woman character as the lead.
Oh, for
Which
crying
is
out loud!
stupid. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
Which isn't gonna work, guys, because that woman's not Nick Cage. Sorry,
That's right.
sorry to tell you,
Yeah.
it's just not gonna work.
Sorry. You should have just done Carmen. Where in the world is Carmen San Diego?
Yep, yep. Why has
Anyway,
that not been made into a movie? There's The
know.
Rock, but that's
Yeah.
way too low. That should be number 1. The
Um,
Rock is an amazing movie
I
from beginning to end,
you
and
can
I
make an
absolutely
argument for it. Yeah.
Sean Connery as not James Bond, but obviously James Bond
Mhm.
is he's just the man. Like he was always the man, and when he gets to basically just be James Bond for a whole movie, and there's videos out there that are theorizing that he is James Bond, and they just use a
Yeah.
different name.
Yeah, that's come up. Yeah.
It's just so good, like from beginning to end. Every character makes sense. All their motivations make perfect sense. There's nobody who's out of place. I actually love The Rock. Genuinely love this.
The
It's one of my
only
favorite movies of all time.
the only reason I wouldn't I don't even know if I put it on the list though.
Oh, this guy.
Well, no, I
The
love this
Rock?
movie.
What?
No, I love this movie. That's your, but hear me out. This is a Sean Connery movie, not a Nick Cage movie.
I'll give you that. I'd say he carries it more than Nick does.
Yeah.
That's probably fair.
So I love this movie. Nick is great in it, but this is absolutely a Sean Connery movie, and it's good.
Which every movie that Sean's in is a Sean Connery movie.
Sure.
Let's be honest.
And let's not
Mhm.
forget the idiot that made this movie. His name is Michael Bay.
That's true. He gets one good movie at least.
Well,
Dang,
Bad
he got
Boys.
one out.
Bad Boys, I think, was good.
We're gonna trigger Grimlock hard. We keep talking about Michael Bay positively. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Well,
There's some deep-seated hatred for that man in
'cause
Grimlock.
he's an absolute train wreck as well.
So, okay, before we roll to number 2,
Yeah.
they haven't listed Con Air and they haven't listed
Face
Raising
Off.
Arizona yet.
Well,
Or
Raising
Face
Arizona.
Off.
Or
I
Face
don't
Off.
think Frank is old enough to know that movie though. Raising Arizona, I
Ah.
doubt will be on the list. It should be, but I don't think it will be, dude.
Leaving Las Vegas,
better
there's
be.
one.
There's another
Honey,
Fear and Loathing.
Honeymoon in Vegas.
Yeah. No, we've named a ton of movies that should be on this.
Oh, jeez.
The Pig is one of his best acting performances ever.
Yep.
Mandy is ridiculously good, dude.
Mandy's
Big
probably
Stunt.
on here. I bet Mandy's on here.
Because
it's one of those films that
not bad.
it's one of those films that a lot of artsy types whack off to is Mandy. So I bet it's on here.
Dude, no, Mandy is solid though.
That's why
It's
Chester
a good
loves it so
movie, but
much.
it's just one of those
Solid.
films.
Yeah.
Like truly is one of those kind of movies that artsy guys love. Artsy, critics. It's a critic
Yeah.
movie. They love it.
Yeah, I would have put Mandy somewhere in the bottom 5. But we'll see. I don't know.
Face Off. There it is.
Yeah, no, I understand everyone loves this movie and stuff. I'm okay with it. It's nowhere near my favorite Nick Cage. But what do you think, Eric?
I wouldn't put it as high as 2, nowhere near as high as 2. It'd be in the bottom
Yeah, fair
5
enough. It
instead of the
deserves to
top
be.
5 for me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, if this movie, if number one's what Canada just said, I tell you what,
Frank needs.
me
to
and
talk
Frank
to-
might have words.
Yeah.
There might be an email sent. Is what I'm
Oh
saying.
God, please no.
All right. Let's see. Con Air.
That's right.
Eh,
Good job. He
easy
saved it at
choice.
the end.
Easy
Oh,
choice. Easy choice. But there's
oh,
so many
scared
movies
me.
that should be on here, though.
Well, there's no
Con
Raising
Air's a good
Arizona.
one.
That's got to be
And that's a big movie
definite
for
top
him.
10 for him. Yes.
Oh, shit. Hold on a second. I'll be back. You guys go ahead and tell Frank why he's so wrong.
Con Air. Oh, it came out in '97. I thought Con Air was older than that, but '97. Con Air. This movie is one of those movies, like the other list had a bunch of movies like this too, that I can just turn on and watch. Period.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what I'm doing, if I'm doing something else, or what the day's like. It's just that kind of movie. It's just, for whatever reason, from the late '80s or mid '80s to the early 2000s, they knew how to make those types of movies that are just easy to watch. And even if they were somewhat complicated in their plot, they still structured it in a way that was easy to watch. So you could watch it repeatedly, and you could watch it, whenever, like on TV or whatever. It was smart filmmaking. They don't make movies like that anymore intentionally, and they've said this. They don't want you to do that, for various different reasons, largely streaming stuff. But regardless, those movies from that era, even young kids. Today I was with one of my best friends and his family, and he has 3 kids, and one of them is like 11. And she said, "Yeah, older movies are just better. They're more fun to watch." Yes, because they were designed to be fun to watch. That's why. It's not like they just forgot in Hollywood. They just changed the formula. And I think in the last year or so, they've kind of switched back. Because I'll tell you right now, the Batman I could watch anytime, even though it's long. And Maverick, to watch that anytime. Top Gun Maverick.
Oh, yeah.
It's just
Yeah, Maverick's
that
great.
these type of movies that are rewatchable. They have a lot of rewatchability. And like the MCU, most of those movies don't. That's the biggest problem with them, in my opinion. They're just, you can watch them maybe once or twice, but then you're like, okay, I'm good. You don't ever need to watch them again. Whereas, like I said, Con Air, The Rock, not so much Face Off, but Con Air and The Rock, National Treasure, the first Ghost Rider movie, I'll watch those anytime. They'll come if they're on TV, or if I'm like I see them on streaming and I just feel like watching something, put it on in the background or whatever, bam, because they're just easy to watch, digestible. Hulk, those sorts of movies, they just don't make them like that anymore, by and large, except for the last year or so, where they've really, I don't know if somebody got the memo or what, but we've had a lot of movies that are rewatchable, right? They're just the type of movie you can shut your brain off a little bit and just enjoy, because you know it's not going to throw anything too egregious at you. And that's what these movies from that time period did very well. It's what made Nick Cage a star. It's what kind of lost a lot of the '80s action guys. Why they got lost in the shuffle is because their movies, even though we can do that with them, they weren't the same. They had a different energy to them. And even though they were action movies. So, like, a great example is Con Air compared to, say, Rambo, first Rambo movie. Rambo's a much more intense movie, even though it's an action movie, action
Well, it's
thriller.
a drama, really. But
Yeah, and Con Air is not. It is not that by any stretch of the imagination. So it's
Con
just
Air's
a
a
different
salary
dichotomy.
movie. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. But it's a good one,
it is
and
good.
it's fun to
It is
watch.
good. It what and now correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Nick Cage in a little movie called Bubba Hotep?
I
No.
think so.
He
Was
wasn't.
he?
No, isn't it Bruce Campbell and Bubba
Bruce
Hotep?
Bruce
Campbell.
Campbell.
And
Yeah.
what didn't Kurt Russell do a cameo in that though?
Did
I
he?
don't think
Bruce
Why is
so.
my
Campbell.
brain
I
saying
I
that Nick
haven't seen
Cage
that
was
in a long
involved in
time.
Bubba Hotep? But anyway, I'm sorry. But I do agree with Alan 100%. We need a top 10 terrible list by Frank. Yes, we do. We do.
Uh-oh.
But because it's kind of ridiculous. Although I have to say, I have to get it out. Damn Japanese. No, seriously, I'm sitting here the whole time we're doing this top 10 list. I have this feeling. You know how you get that feeling that
Yep.
someone's watching you or something like that? You get that feeling, right? Whole time
Yep.
I'm having this feeling. I finally turn myself around, and there is my temp, because my secretary's on maternity leave. But I have my temp secretary, and she's standing
Uh-oh.
behind me. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I say I got to be back, and I go and deal with. I just have to sign some paperwork. And I asked her, how long you been standing there? Oh, just 10 minutes. It's like, God damn it. At least move into
I
my
didn't want to
range of
offend
vision.
you. She didn't want to upset you, Chester. You're big and scary. Have you
I-
seen you?
Yeah, this is true.
She's afraid you're going to Godzilla her head right off.
That's true. That's true. And I don't
She
even
didn't want to
remember her
interrupt
name.
your big time streaming show.
Yeah,
You don't
right.
even remember her name?
Oh.
Well, she's a temp,
jeez.
so
Oh my
I don't
god.
have to be nice to her. She's a temp. She's nothing. She is garbage on my shoe. That's what Chester's whole ideology right now is, this whole mindset.
there you go. There you go. But I did have other things I wanted to do here, and there's two of them, but I can't. I have to deal with Frank. Why would any of you jackasses be above the Cage Man? Why? Why? Really? How many? Nick Cannon? Are you freak? What? Are you kidding me? I
Because
have
it's
to go this
NIC, no
far.
K. No K. No K. No K. Take the K off.
Yeah, you
Why?
got to see.
I
You
got it
got to
right
take
It'll
the
here.
K
probably
off.
come up if you, yeah. It'll probably come up quicker if you didn't put the K.
Oh, you
He
think?
doesn't. Yeah,
Okay.
he doesn't
Yeah.
usually use the K.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, let's take a look at this here, because, my God, Frank, did you do any research at all, Frank? All right, let's take a look at his acting credits here. Okay, let's take a look at him here. So let's go all the way back, to beginning of time. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He played some little character in it. So Valley Girl, Rumblefish. Whoo, he started early, didn't he? Racing with the Moon, good movie. Cotton Club, Birdie. Piggies Who Got Married, Raising Arizona, awesome. Moonstruck, another one that could have been on that list, easy. Moonstruck,
Mhm.
although that's more of a Cher movie. Vampire's Kiss, the most epic Nick Cage craziness ever. Vampire's
Yep.
Kiss. Never on Tuesday, Time to Kill, Wild Heart actually, Wild Heart wasn't bad. Firebirds, Honeymoon in Vegas, right?
Mhm.
Let's see here. Deadfall, not a bad movie. Trapped in Paradise, Kiss of Death. Leaving Las Vegas, yes, yes. The Rock, Con Air, damn, dude, boom, boom, boom. Look at that. City of Angels, Snake Eyes, 8 millimeter, great movie. Bring Out the Dead. I like this movie actually. Gone in 60 Seconds, awesome. Family Man, the Mandolin movie. This is not bad. Have you seen Captain Corelli's Mandolin? Have you seen it?
Yep. It's
It's
pretty
not a
good.
bad flick.
Mhm.
Um, Wind Talkers is a military movie. Sunny, of course. Matchsticks Men, National Treasure, absolutely. Lord of War, Weatherman. I don't know that one. World Trade Center, didn't watch that. Wicker Man, another epic performance by Ghost Rider. A Werewolf Woman of the SS, yes, please. Next, I love this movie. I love Next. It's
Yep.
such a great little movie. More National Treasure. Bangkok Dangerous, a really cool movie. Have you guys seen that?
I have.
Yeah. Bad Lieutenant, great movie. Kick Ass, he's the best part of it. Sorcerer's Apprentice, people didn't like it, but I thought it was all right. Season of the
It was
Witch, not
okay.
a bad Nick movie, dude. Drive Angry, freaking awesome, dude.
Yep.
More Ghost Rider, the Croods, whatever. Outcast. Let's see, we're getting a little thin here. The Dying Light, Dog Eat Dog. Let's see here. Army of One. Okay, okay. Vengeance. A Love Story. All right. Humanity Bureau. Mandy. Let's see here. I haven't seen these. Score to Settle. Color Out of Space is okay. That's a Lovecraft movie. Oh boy, there's a lot of stuff. Willy's Wonderland. The Pig was awesome.
I've
Uh,
never seen Color Out of Space. Is it? Is it any good?
it's okay. It's a Lovecraft adaptation, and it's not bad. It's not
It's
bad,
extremely weird.
as it should
Oh,
be.
it's
It's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Lovecraft. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I've heard that The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is actually really good. I haven't seen it though.
well, here's the thing. We just looked at the list real quick. We could have created a top 20 list that had hardly any of the stuff Frank put on his.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
God damn it, Frank.
Uh, it's kind of nuts how crazy his career's actually been. Like he's done basically everything. If there's
Yep.
a genre, he's been in it. Now people always give him crap for some of his over-the-top acting, like his first transformation scene in Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
And yeah, fair play.
Yeah.
But he also, when he has a proper director, one he actually respects and will listen to, the dude can act genuinely. And it's you can tell when Nick's all in and when he's just collecting a paycheck. And there were a couple movies where he's just collecting a paycheck where he still did fine.
Hmm.
So I don't think he gets enough credit, Mr. Cage. I think a lot of people. I remember people all the time talking about like I don't even understand why this guy's famous. Like he's not that good. Da 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 da. There was a
What?
lot of that sentiment around, and I'm like, you people are nuts. The dude's a star. He's
Yeah,
just got star power all over himself, and
yeah, and
he's a good actor.
he is. And look at this like 3-year run we got right here, right? Just this chunk, right? And we saw before. Next, great movie. National Treasure 2, great movie. Bangkok Dangerous, a great movie. Knowing is more of a Christian thing. I don't know if it's everybody. Bad Lieutenant, really good movie. Kick Ass, best part of it. Sorcerer's Apprentice, not as bad as people say. Season of Witch, really solid. Drive Angry, one of his best movies he's ever made.
Yep.
And look at that, that's just that chunk of time, right?
Then he had Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. Oh boy.
Yeah, well, but I'm just saying, just look at that chunk of time, right? I mean, just go to another chunk here. Look what's in it, right? Let's look at this chunk. Look what's in that.
Oh, you go from the mid '90s till early 2000s, and he was
Just
hitting
killing
bangers.
it, dude. Killing
Yeah.
it, killing it. And actually, I like Bring Out the Dead. Have you guys seen that? He's an ambulance driver in that.
Yep. It's pretty
An
good.
EMT, yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Yeah, it's interesting. You probably go check it out. It's not a what you would expect from Nick Cage.
I mean, look at that run between '97 and like 2000 there. He was pumping out movies. Boy,
Yeah, he
that's a lot of
was.
movies in that short amount of time.
It is.
And some of them were big action movies. Like,
Yeah,
look, you
look
got
at
The
it.
Rock all the way up to Gone in 60 Seconds in like 4 years.
Yeah.
He pumped out a literal career's worth of movies.
He did. 8 millimeter. Shouldn't forget that. It's a really solid movie. City of Los Angeles, not bad either. Wind Talkers, not a bad flick. It's about Cherokee
Navajo.
codebreaker. Navajo was it? No, I thought it was, or maybe it was Navajo. Yeah,
Yes,
Navajo
Navajo.
codebreakers during World War II,
Yep.
or something like, or not codebreakers, code men during World War II.
Yeah.
It's an interesting movie.
But I mean, look at that. So you go, I mean, you could even start leaving Las Vegas if you wanted to in '95. Right into The Rock, right into Con Air, right into Face Off, right into City of Angels. Those were all hits.
Yeah,
Every
chunk.
one of them.
Yeah,
Boom, 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 boom,
good
boom.
chunk. Yeah.
And these were right in a row. Like, this is why I don't understand the hatred Nick Cage gets from a lot of people. It's
Yeah, I
very
don't get it
weird
either. Yeah, it's weird.
because the dude's a star. Like, he's always been a star.
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah. What do we got to expect come in the future? The thing with it is the pig. It's a small little project. But if you
Mhm.
haven't seen it, go watch it because it probably is his best performance you've ever seen. It's insane, and this was just came out recently. You have to watch this Nick Cage movie. The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I haven't seen it, although he plays himself, which is kind of awesome. Butcher's Crossing. I have no idea what that is. A retirement plan. The Old Way. Renfield. Is that a Bram Stoker's Dracula takeoff?
Yep,
Sympathy
and
for the
he's
Devil and
Dracula.
Dream Scenario. Let me check out that. Let me check
So
Renfield.
I'm assuming he's going to play the Dracula and the Devil back to back, it looks like. That's interesting. It's an interesting decision. I think this Renfield is a spoof, but I could be wrong about that. Like, I think it's supposed to be, kind of funny. Yeah, comedy, fantasy, horror. Okay, that's what I thought. It's not a serious take on Dracula. So what he's doing is he's leaning into the memes that he's a vampire because
But
everybody
it's
because
got
there's those pictures.
Aquafina in it. Ugh.
Oh,
Yeah, that
that's
is
not
pretty
good.
awful. I mean, he might kill her in the scene one. It might be.
Let's
Might be
hope so.
good. She is a really bad actress though, but because she's not an actress, she's a YouTuber. She's an SNS influencer. Let me see with this Butcher's Crossing. Why does this feel? It feels Kingy, Stephen Kingy. Let's see here. Director Gabe Polsky. Okay, okay. Frontier Air epic about an Ivy League dropout as he travels to the Colorado wilderness, where he joins a team of buffalo hunters on a journey that puts his life and sanity at risk, based on the highly acclaimed novel by John Williams. Well,
Hmm.
what's he playing in this? Because he's not the Ivy League dropout. He's way too old for that.
Apparently, he's playing
No,
that.
he is playing that. Jesus, you go, Nick. This is a small budget, though, the small budget thing. And his small budget stuff either is spectacular or not.
A lot of
Um,
westerns too.
sit,
Like you got the Butcher's Crossing. That Old Way sounds like a western.
yeah.
Colton Briggs.
Let's see. After being forced to drive a mysterious passenger at gunpoint, a man finds himself in a high stakes game of cat and mouse where it becomes clear that not everyone is as it seems.
Yep. So he's going to play Dracula and then the Devil. All right.
Sweet.
All right, Nick. You do it.
You go,
You're Nick
Nick.
Cage. You
You
go do what you
are.
want.
You are. But goddamn Frank. We got to talk to Frank. Frank needs a
He
talking
needs a
to.
needs a speaking to.
He does. But anyway, let's move on to the next story here because I do got a couple of interesting things to end up on here.
Ah, yes. She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Episode 9 review. A pointless conclusion to history's most pointless show.
Now, we haven't spoken about this too much. We kind of just let it be,
Oh, I've
right?
been waiting for this.
But here's the thing.
I've been waiting for this.
And Grimlock has a lot to say on it. I'm going to say one little thing and then let you take over, Grimlock. Here's the thing. In this last episode, they did a fourth wall breaking episode, basically, where she's actually, complaining at Kevin Feige, and they're trying to be funny and saying, yeah, all the things you complain about, we're joking about, ha ha ha, ha, fellow kids, right?
Yes.
And the thing is with the fourth wall breaking, and sure, you got that out of that. Who was the run in She-Hulk that did that? It was
John
after,
Byrne.
yeah, John Byrne. And fair enough. But here's the thing: the reason why it doesn't work for you is because you're lame.
That's right.
Oh, it's more than that.
Yeah, you're not
It's way more
cool.
than that.
You're not funny. You're not interesting. That's your problem. The way they went with this, the whole season was just like it's clear that they didn't know what they were doing. Because I followed, all of the synopsis of each episode, and every episode, just like the Rings of Power, people just had a field day with how bad they were. Whereas the Game of Thrones spinoff, which is full of wokeness, is getting praised. It's interesting. That's the main thing I wanted to say. The reason why this wall stuff isn't working for you is because you're lame. It
Yeah.
works for Deadpool because he's cool and interesting. You're
Yeah.
not.
Well, you're also not Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds is
Well,
pure
yeah,
charisma manifest,
he's
so
perfect
he
at
can
it.
pull it off.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
you kind of have to have a cool factor to pull that off, right? It's like
Yeah.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He sits and breaks the fourth wall a couple of times in that, talking to us, but he's cool as shit,
Yeah.
right? And that's a little sawed-off Hollywood actor.
Well, that's the missing ingredient in a lot of this stuff. You can make a movie about literally anything as long as your main character's cool.
Yeah,
Because people will be very forgiving of somebody who's cool.
yeah.
You can get away with all kinds of stuff you're not getting away with if you're just some schlub.
hmm
You're just
Well,
not doing it.
and the thing with Ferris Bueller's Day Off that really sticks out is you got to keep in mind that what was the character, the main actor's name there, Eric? What's his name again?
Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick isn't even a real thing. He's a figment of the dude's imagination throughout the entire movie. And not only was he cool enough to carry all of that, he was cool enough to make Donkashane cool. I mean, for fuck's sake, dude. And he did, right? Because that was
Yeah.
one of the coolest scenes in the movie. And it's like, really? He's singing Donkashane on a float? But it worked. But you have to be cool. And this lady and these people are not. You're just not cool, man. You can't pull that off without the cool factor. Anyway, go ahead, Grimlock.
Oh, it goes way beyond a cool factor. This show was a 9-episode cope session for the writers.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Wine moms.
This had nothing to do with She-Hulk. And also, to the ones who were still defending Kevin Feige, Chester, you wanted him. You still got any
Well, hold on,
shield left for your boy?
Hold on a second. Let me check. See, I have a feeling. Okay, she's not behind me. Go ahead. All right.
Still any defense for Kevin Feige because he allowed this shit to happen.
Fine, Grimlock.
He not only did he allow this to happen. Now I see this article. The article that just came out in Variety, was it Friday night, Saturday, that basically admitted that Marvel just allowed these people, with Kevin Feige's approval, spent millions of dollars to admit what we've been saying for a while now, which is the so-called toxic fans / critics and YouTubers have been living rent-free in their head for years now.
Obviously, that's true. Yeah.
And
but was it as bad as Werewolf by Night, though?
It's far worse.
Okay.
It is far worse. Okay. Chester, since you haven't seen it,
I haven't.
You know who Doomcock is, right?
I do. Yes.
He's literally revealed as the villain in episode 8.
Sweet. Good for him. Did he get paid?
No,
You should
but
say.
it's essentially him. They wrote basically has this. If you haven't seen the Variety article, I would suggest you go read it because the showrunner and Tatiana Maslany, who at first I was willing to give some rope to because I thought she was a good casting as Jen, but since she has revealed that she was totally on board with this shit, fuck her too. I hope that all of these feminists end up having to suck dick to make their rent money from Tatiana on down.
I guess, yeah. And of course,
I
how many
seriously
men
do.
did she sleep with in the series? 9
Well,
episodes,
see,
right? How
that's
many?
the other thing. At least 3. It's
Yeah.
suggested that there's at least 2 more.
And one of those 3 that she slept with stole her blood to become this monstrosity here.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Alrighty
It
then.
it this their whole premise is completely contradicting anything that they're actually any point that they was actually trying to make. You make the whole bitching moan about being catcalled, but you're twerking in an office. And on that racist shit where you hired Megan Thee Stallion just for that one scene because that wasn't racist. Oh yeah, sure. So you do that. You complain about being catcalled and being mistreated for being a woman, but you wrote a show where your main character is a completely incompetent narcissist and an alcoholic. I have seen some character assassination from Marvel on characters in the last 10 years. I mean, they literally opened a firing squad on She-Hulk. I mean, what they did to this, not just She-Hulk. If I'm Universal, I terminate any working contract that I have with Marvel tomorrow morning. There's no way I would continue that relationship
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you have ruined everything about not just She-Hulk but the Hulk universe. Abomination was a joke. Scar, so you basically Planet Hulk you can't do because that garbage that they had. I mean, they turned they got millions of dollars from in approval from Kevin Feige to do this, where there is nothing about that. I mean, hell, Dan Slott's run on She-Hulk is masterpiece theater compared to this,
Yeah. Well, it
and
is
I'm not a fan of
interesting.
Dan Slott.
Well, no, none of us are. But the thing with it is though, you turn her into a wine mom, which seems that's their audience. She's a slut.
Oh,
She's
she's an outright alcoholic. She is torn down drunk in at least 5 episodes.
yeah, yeah. Well, I that
Torn down drunk.
therefore wine mom. But
No, no,
wine
no.
mom.
There's a difference. No. She's not wine mom. She's white girl wasted.
Oh, okay, all
She's
right.
That's how bad it is. Like
So all right, she's a drunk. She's a slut.
she's a
She
drunk.
is
She's a slut. She's completely incompetent. She lost every case that she was involved.
she's
They
narcissistic, especially against people who are heroic, trying to save people's lives. But she talks
Yeah.
down to them. I know
She
that.
does nothing. She does nothing heroic. Oh, and not to mention they turned Wong into a joke,
Of course they did.
which
Daredevil as
which
well.
Daredevil. Oh yeah, what they did to Daredevil, especially in the end, where she breaks the fourth wall to make a scene to make an ending where he's basically taken hostage and made her boyfriend. So she turns into Wanda Maximoff at the end of this shit because now she's forcing Daredevil to be her boyfriend.
Okay, does she at least
And
praise his large penis?
no.
No. Oh well.
Oh, also that scene where she fucks Daredevil and has Daredevil quote and Jessica Gallo has to quote unquote do the walk of shame.
What is that?
No man who ever gets laid does the walk of shame.
What is that? Explain it.
The walk of shame is basically she's leaving the house first thing in the morning and she's I guess for women having some sort of regret after getting laid, men don't have that such a thing.
Usually you have the same clothes on. You're leaving the house. Usually have the high
Yeah,
heels hung over your shoulder, like he had his boots hung
yeah,
over his shoulder, because you were drunk when you went there in the first place. Yeah.
yeah. Men don't have such a thing. We don't have a walk of shame. Even
No.
if we're not proud of what we just did, we still did it.
Well, I
He was
have.
whistling as he walked away. He was pretty happy about it.
Yeah. Well, you got laid. Yeah. No, I didn't know that
As
was
I
a
mentioned,
thing. That's new to me.
as I
Anyway.
mentioned before, since you did your spotlight on Great Lake Avengers, they shat all over your boy Immortal Man.
Of course they did. How so?
They made him a slut and a gay slut to boot.
Jesus, man. His whole thing was about his love affair with the Teropteran lady, right?
Oh no, multiple women,
Like
and
12
she was
wives and a
and
husband.
yeah, and she was supposed to be representing him, and she ended up being the reason he lost. So
Okay, so
everything that
I thought this was supposed to be female and empowering, but yet she lost every case. That doesn't make sense.
she's completely incompetent and still was nominated for Lawyer of the Year.
Huh?
Yeah.
I'm convinced that these people actually hate women. I'm convinced.
Yes.
How do you take an actual, literal, strong female character and turn her
And
into
assassinate her like this?
Yeah, a complete slut, bitch, and a loser. Like, she's the trifecta of what a terrible woman is.
She's them. She is them, because if you read the articles, Jessica Gao in particular brags on how she would fight for this scene or fight for that scene, all of this stuff. This is shit she is proud to say that they had put in the show.
Well, I saw one thing where they said that
Yeah, you see that picture there, the fat Asian cow next to the blonde.
That's an Asian. Okay.
Yeah, Jessica Gao. She's the showrunner. She's the one who's most proud of.
That's a
that shit.
woman.
You're looking at the wrong picture, Chester.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, go back up.
There you go.
Oh yeah, no, I recognize her over here. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just poor writing, poor everything, poor representation, and it's like,
No, this
is this what
this
you
was
think
intentional.
a woman is? Oh
And
my
they
God,
said that
that
they
doesn't
started.
work. Oh my God, that doesn't.
And they said they started this 3 years ago.
Ooh, that looks
Is
bad.
that Daredevil costume? That looks horrible.
That's not good, dude.
Yes.
I understand it's an homage to the yellow, but ooh, that doesn't work.
It was poorly done. Everything.
There's a reason we all agreed to leave the yellow in the past.
Is this
all right?
Scar? Is that Scar?
Yes, that's supposed to be Scar.
How is there a?
Like I said, if I worked at Universal after seeing this and seeing these articles, I would terminate my working contract with Disney tomorrow. No, you don't get Hulk back. You don't get anything of Hulk. Well, and did I mention the part where they shat on the Bill Bixby series?
Well, I saw a little thing earlier up the top, right here.
Yeah. They
recreated the opening on the final episode as the same as the Bixby series.
But this is just a serious train wreck. And it's unfortunate. Like I said, I haven't talked about it much because it didn't watch it. I really can't have an opinion. But
Werewolf by Night, by comparison, I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna assume is masterpiece fucking theater compared to this.
Dude, it's really bad.
No, if you haven't seen this, if people want to see the bar of what really bad is. This is the bar now.
Well, to be fair, it didn't really have any wokeness in it, though. Werewolf by Night, it didn't have that, other than the fact that they should have called it Bloodstone. I mean, there's no reason for you not to call it Bloodstone.
I mean, I thought the character assassination that Dan Slott did to Spider-Man was horrible. No, this is way worse.
Look at this face she's making. What is she trying to do? Be funny?
Yeah. Trying.
Yeah, in that scene, she says, "When we gonna get the X-Men?" And she turned to the audience and gave a thumb up and stuck her tongue out. And this is kind of a bad picture. She was actually smiling with her tongue out.
Why does she hate heroes so much, though? Why did they write her that way?
Because they hate it. Yeah. Like I said, this is a 9-episode cope for them.
It's finally over.
Oh, goodness gracious. I guess
that's great.
It is an absolute collapse. I mean, Moon Knight irritated the hell out of me because I'm a big Moon Knight fan, and they clearly wanted to make a Scarab show. Why didn't you just do
Moon Knight was great. Shut up.
No, it was not. It was not. It was horrible.
There are Chester. There are
stupid.
2 words.
Loki was hateful. Let's speak
Chester,
fair.
there are 2 words that you need to say to me right now. I want to hear them.
Fuck
3
off. You
words.
were
Sorry.
right.
I told you what Feige was going to do, and you did listen to me.
Well, I wanted to
Yeah.
give the man the benefit of the doubt.
No. He like the old saying, when people tell you who they are, believe them. He told us what was coming.
He did. He did, to be fair, and
He
it's been an
told us,
absolute train
and
wreck.
he showed it time and time again. And it's not just that these things are. Look, you can live with bad.
Sure.
Like we just talked about it. Ghost Rider's not a good movie,
No.
No.
but there was a lot of good shit in it where you're like, man, if they'd have just did a couple of things differently, it could have been great.
Oh yeah, that's true.
There was in Phase 4, there has been nothing that has been good, remotely good.
No, everything
And
I've seen has
it's
seen has been
gotten
bad.
worse,
Yeah.
and the assassination of characters along the way. In just one phase, they have ruined Scarlet Witch. They ruined just about everything related to Doctor Strange. They ruined Black Widow, which
Oh,
is ironic because this show is supposed to be about the strong female character. You've ruined 2 of them in one
well, I'd
phase.
say more than that. Miss Marvel, which once again wasn't a show for me, was an absolute failure. This once again a show
Yes,
not for me, but this could have been a cool ladies like Ally McBeal show. There's no reason it couldn't be. I mean,
it
that's the
wasn't
thing.
even
It doesn't
close to
have to
that.
be for us, right?
It wasn't even close to that because at least I've never watched Ally McBeal, but at least from what I understand about that, but it had a premise. It stuck to its premise. It had it had a supporting cast. This had nothing. It did things that constantly contradicted itself.
Hmm. And Tank Ferret, the reason why I titled it Vanity is because we're seeing a lot of
It,
vanity
it
here, and
oh
we're
yes,
about to get
if you
into
want
one
to
of the
see
biggest
vanity,
vanity. Well, it's vanity. It's
every,
vanity projects.
this, this whole thing right here. That's yes, you got the correct title for this
Yes,
because
thank
this
you.
was vanity
You know,
at front and center. All of these people. Like I said, I don't know if you've seen the Variety article, but if you do, have a strong drink next to
mhm.
you when you read it because you might want to slap one of these women.
Well,
Just wait, boys.
double
Just
entendres
wait.
aside, I do, I do have my brain works sometimes, but we've actually covered several vanity situations, but you want to get into the real big one?
Well, before we do, just wait. With the MCU, the MCU,
We're still on it.
we haven't got to the worst offender yet, and it's coming. Coming very soon. Black Panther 2 is going to be an absolute shit show of wokeness like you've never seen before. It's
Well,
going to be bro, I'm telling you, get ready for the most
But
anti-white movie ever made. I mean it.
it's going to be the most. I think it's going to be the most anti-male movie because
Yeah, that too.
I mean, I got no. First of all, Black Panther 1 wasn't a good movie either, and
no, it wasn't.
it got so much love because of all the pandering and the social engineering they did with that
Well,
shit.
because they think Wakanda's a real place. But
Well, no, it was so. I'll say this: it was social engineering done right
well,
because
here's the thing.
they really made it so that if you even black people who didn't like the movie couldn't criticize the movie because you were seen as some kind of hater or a bigot. It
Right.
wasn't a good movie. It was a movie that and the ironic thing is, if you wanted to do your anti-white movie, Black Panther was the perfect one to do it, but you didn't even do it right because you killed Claw off halfway through the movie.
Right. No, that's true.
That was the
Um,
perfect one to do it with.
and the thing is, though, will Wakanda be anti-black? Because She-Hulk is clearly anti-female.
It most
Well, it's
likely
going to
will.
be anything reasonable. That's for sure. I'm telling you, nothing I've heard from, nothing I've seen from that movie has given me anything but a sense of great Schadenfreude because
Ooh.
it's coming, and I hope the internet is ready because you're about to see pure distilled bigotry against a race in movie form like we haven't seen in a long time.
Hmm.
I guarantee it. I put all my money on it. It's going to be a nasty, hateful piece of work. The whole movie.
Well, the first one had a lot of anti-white in it anyway,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
from Shiri. She was very
Colonize
anti-white.
us.
And
Colonizers,
she's
yes,
about to
that's
be Black Panther.
of
So
course she is.
have
Yes.
fun. Have fun with that, boys.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
let's get into one of the biggest examples of vanities today, though. Go ahead.
Former Deadpool series star is a big word, T.J. Miller claims Ryan Reynolds was horrifically mean to him. Speculates lead actor was jealous his performance as Weasel was getting, quote, as many or maybe more accolades. Oh boy, that's not even vanity. That's just pure. I don't even. That's delusion. That's what
Now,
that is.
here's the thing. Does anyone really remember Weasel?
I
Very
remember
much.
Well,
one
I didn't
line
even know
where he
his
says
name
he looked
was
like a
Weasel. I didn't
sphincter.
even know that was his name.
wait, wait,
He
wait.
says he looks like a
I,
butthole or something like that. That's
since
all I
since
remember of
since
him.
Chester, since I can get away with this,
Yeah.
the winner of tonight's Is This Nigga Serious Award goes to
Yes.
T.J. Miller for this
Yes.
claim because nigga, are you serious?
Yeah. Well, no, he dropped out of the
Of all the
series
things I
because he was so
remember of
insulted.
that first Deadpool movie, you ain't it.
You ain't it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's not what we
Dude, Gina
remember,
Carano for the 5 minutes she was in it is more memorable in
right?
that movie
Or
than you.
Colossus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the old lady.
Or Moraine. Oh yeah, the old lady. She's hilarious. She was hilarious.
Yeah.
Or
Or
even Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
oh, she was cool.
Way
Yes.
more
Or
memorable.
or the sexy girlfriend, which was a bit
Yes.
Yeah.
creepy.
Vanessa,
But
who's supposed to be copycat, I think.
well, I mean, but the thing with it is though, is I barely remember this guy.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
yet, not only is he complaining openly, publicly, calling out Ryan Reynolds, he's saying that he left the series because of it. And I'm like, did you leave, or were you just simply not continued?
Yeah, he
I
was fired.
think he got into some trouble and was asked to leave.
Yeah,
Mm,
he was
Wasn't there a rape
before that second
allegation or
one.
something?
I don't know.
Yep.
Let's see
Something
There
here.
was
like that
something.
happened.
T.J. Miller accusation. Boom. Took me a second. Silicon Valley star, or whatever, I don't even know what that is. Star T.J. Miller accused of sexually assaulting and punching and punching. Damn,
Yeah.
brother.
That's a donkey punch. Okay.
Alrighty, well, what's that?
Never mind, Chester.
Oh boy, Chester. He's a good boy. This
What's a
article was originally published on my father's birthday in 2017.
what's a
December 19th.
donkey punch?
Chester, these are not questions you want the answer to.
All right, fine.
This way lies madness.
As well ask what Dirty Sanchez is.
I know that one.
Okay, it's in that kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Really
Yeah,
weird
so-
sex stuff. That's
Damn,
what it
dude.
is.
That's just that's nasty. Okay, so this guy's a jackass. But
Yes.
it's just funny because it's like, dude, really? I mean, we don't even need to read the body of it. If he just goes into more depth, he's just calling out Ryan Reynolds and how he is so much better than Ryan Reynolds, and Ryan Reynolds was so jealous. Does Ryan Reynolds even know who you are? I mean, does he? Are you in his zone? I don't know. But he's bitching. He's bitching a lot. I just thought this was just an incredible amount of vanity because it's like, dude, where it looks like you were in the second one. I don't even remember you being in the second one, dude. Look here, where's it? Right here. That's the second one, isn't it?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
Yeah,
didn't
it
even
is.
know he was in it.
He barely is. It's more like a cameo than anything else, if I remember right.
Hmm. Well, I
The
mean,
second one's not a
Oh,
good
candidly,
movie.
Ryan Reynolds could be the
he
biggest
sells
dick
them
ever.
out
I don't
to
care.
he sells them out to cable.
Yeah.
Cable's looking for him. He's the one that sells them out.
Is he? Oh, see, I don't even remember this guy.
He's not very memorable. He's not a good actor. Probably even a less funny comedian. Is he actually a comedian too?
I think he claims to be. There's a
Yeah,
lot
Now,
of people
he
who
just
claim to be.
Now, this lady over here, it was stupidly cast as Domino. Doesn't make any sense, especially with the white thing on her face. Like, God, which is racist in my opinion.
I should have
She's
but
just left
black.
the
So
strangely
you
makeup
got to make it white
earlier.
attractive.
instead of black. But I thought she was okay though.
If they'd have just put the makeup on her, she would have been fine. It's like, why was that so hard?
Yeah, well, they did it with Gamora,
And
right?
it worked.
And it worked. But I mean, I found it actually racist because okay, she's black, so you make the circle white. It's like, huh?
Right?
She's a
Yeah,
mulatto anyway, guys. I mean, what are you doing?
unfortunately, the second Deadpool movie just did not have the magic that the
No,
first
it
one did. The
didn't.
first one is just, it's so good. It was a movie that was way better than it had any right to be. And the second one just didn't have that same heart. You could tell. It just through every scene just didn't have the same energy in it.
No, it wasn't. It was nowhere near as good. Nowhere near as good. It was a
Yep.
typical let's make money on a sequel. Yeah, that's
Yep.
exactly what it was. But yeah, no. The first Deadpool was a lot of fun. But I just the vanity of this guy, dude. This fella here. I mean, it's like Jesus, dude. And we see a lot of it. There's so much vanity coming out of Hollywood, and a lot of the noise and nonsense, the wokeness, is raw, unadulterated vanity. Is what it
Yep.
really comes down to. Now I know a lot of times we will use the word narcissism, and fine. I guess it's one of the words of the zeitgeist of today. But we have an easier word for it: vanity,
Yep.
right? And it's just insane, dude. Who the hell are you? I don't even know who you are. The only thing I remember from you in the movie, you were just kind of that typical Will Ferrell, yuck, nonsense. What's that other Jew boy that's in so many movies that everyone thinks is so awesome? He looks kind of like this very similar type of
Seth
comedy guy.
Rogen. Who you
Seth
talking about?
Rogen, that jackass, right?
Yeah.
It's the same type of, self-deprecating, soy boy taken in the ass type of comedy,
Yep.
right? It's what they are, right? And Will Ferrell's an absolute train wreck as well. But oh God, he's the worst thing ever, dude. Um,
Picture of Will Ferrell. I love it.
I cannot stand Will Ferrell. He is so
Oh.
unfunny. He's not even
Not,
unfunny enough to be ironically funny.
not even
Chester, have you
Talladega
ever seen the
Nights.
other guys?
No, he's Will Ferrell sucks a lot, Eric.
No, have you ever seen the movie The Other Guys?
Probably.
If you haven't, you should. In that movie, he's hilarious.
Actually, I've
Genuine.
seen him do a few things. Talladega Nights was fine.
Yeah.
Anchorman had its funny parts, but
First
that was more
Anchorman.
of
Yeah.
Jim Carell. What was his name? Carell?
Steve Carell.
Steve
Steve
Carell.
Carell. Yeah, he's really kind of carried
I
that
love
one.
Lamp.
But he just falls in. He's another Seth Rogen type. This guy is all the
Yeah.
only vibe I got off of him. He's just kind of half men, soy boys in modern Hollywood. Whereas Ryan Reynolds is, big dick out, male, right?
Hmm.
Well, that's what he is. That's how his characters always come off. Deadpool, particularly. I know he's being goofy and I understand the whole thing with him playing Deadpool, but that's he's big dick energy, right?
Well, he's a star, and this guy's not.
Yeah.
I can walk into anywhere and see T.J. Miller. I've seen T.J. Miller. I probably even know a guy named T.J. Miller. In fact, but Ryan Reynolds, no, he's a star. There's
Well,
just only so many of them. And it's
answer.
funny because he did an interview recently. I saw somebody talking about it where he said one of the things he's grateful for is that his career has been a really slow burn because he was doing like nonsense rom com movies forever, right?
Who?
Before he
Colin
actually
Farrell?
finally no Ryan Reynolds
Oh.
before he actually finally hit and started making actual action movies for
Yeah,
years.
those were his little dick energy movies there.
Yeah, those were his jump. But he said he was grateful for them because they allowed him to fly under the radar long enough to build up a big enough body of work that now he can get just about any role he wants. And yeah, and that makes sense. And now he does whatever he wants, basically. I mean, he's got a bunch of companies. He owns a cell phone company, all sorts of stuff. But the fact
Gin? Is
that
it gin company too, or is it
yeah, an
vodka?
aviation gin. He
Aviator
owns that
gin, yeah.
company. Yeah, and the fact that he's able to do that just shows you the different caliber, to your point, Chester, of man that these two guys are.
Mhm.
Ryan plays the goofball. He probably is a bit of a goofball, but he's a businessman. He knows the business. He knows how to play the game. Knows how to make money. He befriends all the right people so he can keep making money. He knows what he's doing. That's all intentional. People act like, oh, he does too. Oh, I just got lucky. No, you didn't, Ryan. You knew what you were doing, and you played the game, and you won. Simple as that.
Right. Well,
So
I,
that's why you won't see Ryan go out here and do this to somebody else, right? I've never heard him say anything like this about another actor because
because
it's
he
not that's
doesn't
not how
need
you play the
to.
game.
This guy's
Yeah.
desperate. But let me ask you a question, because all I see is media. I'm not living in the States. If we look at the good old boy, Ryan Reynolds, kind of standard American male, compared to Soy Boy Miller here. What is the actual breakdown ratio in America? Because the
Of
media is
soy
showing me
boy
that it's
to
all Soy Boy, but is that
it
really true?
depends where you go. If you stay out of the cities, you're going to get a lot more men and a lot less soy boys. Now there are
Mhm.
some men in the cities. They're usually in the business world though, like higher echelons of sales and stuff that are very, your typical American masculine male, which that kind of job will attract that, right? Because it's very competitive. Um, but outside of the cities, there's not a lot of it. Like I grew up in the country and I live in a city now. Out there, they're men. The men are still men, and there's nothing wrong with that. They don't pretend like there is. And there's just not a lot of that. Like fights were common over nonsense usually, but they happen.
Sure.
Stuff like that, right?
Boys are boys.
There is definitely a difference between city boys and country boys, and there always has been, but now it's so bad. A lot of these city boys, they some of them even think they're tough, and I'm like, bro, you're nothing. I can tell you're nothing, and I'm not nothing. So you're
Well,
definitely nothing.
there's some. I know this is maybe off topic, but something that comes to my mind every time I see these soy boys, and I see a lot of them now because, like I said, I'm not in the states.
Mhm.
When they go on and on about their, women's rights and all that kind of stuff, and fair enough. But do these guys? They strike me as dudes who aren't actually capable of laying pipe. And the thing is, it's kind of
Yes,
hard to keep a lady if you're not laying pipe proper.
that's correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to brag because I would never.
Yeah,
Um,
here he comes, helicoptering his shit.
I
Well,
literally have
you got
had
to explain that to
conversations.
Chester too.
I've had conversations with other men who I worked with, and some who worked for me at different times. Like have men talk, and I just straight we get in conversations about sex and getting women off, and I was like, I've never understood why that was such a big deal. It's not hard. And two of the guys, when I said that, their face just went white because I didn't like they apparently they've never done it, and I'm like, yeah, it's the other guy I was actually talking to was like, yeah, I don't know, I've never had trouble with it either. Some men just can't. They just
Well,
don't have
it,
the ability for
it's
whatever
kind of your
reason.
responsibility, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I
It's
mean,
job
I
one.
know it sounds crass, but I'm not being crass actually.
Yeah,
It's kind of your responsibility. I mean, relationship is more than sex. Obviously, there's a lot of things
yeah.
to a
What?
relationship, but it is part of it. And
What?
as a man, you have a responsibility. And I
That's
saw
right.
this thing the other day that I struck me as odd. It's once again soy boys, and they were all complaining because it was like that's just ridiculous. The soy boys were saying, and the girl was like, the average time for sex should be 30 minutes to an hour, and I was
Yeah,
like, yep,
yeah. That
that's
sounds about right.
pretty
Yeah, yeah,
normal. I
yeah.
don't, but they
In
were all
fact, I
upset
usually
because
get the
that's way
complaint that
too
it
long.
takes.
It's like
I
what?
usually get the other complaint. You're taking too long. I'm like, well, what do you want from me, lady?
Well,
Do
no,
you want
sometimes you can't
you
finish.
want
That's
you want the
unfortunate, but
2 pump chump?
but
Or
you
you
know what
want the
I'm
man
saying.
who can actually do the job?
Well, no, yeah, and it's true. And sometimes when you're really trying to, last along for her, right? Last
Yeah,
longer, you hold back too many times, then you can't finish because you've kind of
yeah.
screwed yourself up for it.
You ruined
Uh,
your stuff. Yeah.
well, it is a problem. It does happen. But that's not the point. I'm like I said, I'm not trying to be crass. I'm serious. When I saw that statement and the girl was like 30 minutes to an hour, I'm like, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
really, that's about right. Uh,
Realistically, yeah,
that's
that's
very
about good.
normal.
Good time.
But I just was surprised at how many of these soy boy dudes were like, that's way too long. And it's like, no, it's not really, dude. It's
And
pretty
I'll tell you where
normal.
it comes from, Chester. It's from TV. A lot of those guys grew up watching television, watching sitcoms where there was the common joke of how quick the husband comes, basically. I mean,
Sure, I
let's say
always thought
what
it
it
was
is.
just a trope, though.
Yeah, but
Nope.
they've I hate this word, but it's the right one. They've internalized it, and now they think that's normal. That you shouldn't be good in
Yeah,
bed.
but
No, you
why
should
would you
be.
go through all that buildup and all that stuff for just a couple minutes? What do you, what?
Exactly, exactly my point.
Part of
Uh,
it,
Go ahead.
part of it is, and I'll give some of the Christians credit for this. Some of this. This is where you can blame some of this on porn too, because on the opposite side is you got the motherfuckers who've been watching porn since puberty,
Yeah, or before.
and they have no reception of reality.
You think that would make
And
them finish sooner and not later?
well, no, because their idea of what sex, like you said, they're two opposite sides of the spectrums of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, one, I'm not supposed to be good at it, and two, like the I guess you could say the fantasy side of it, where it's like, okay, there's no, they don't understand the middle,
Mm-hmm.
No,
where
you
it
want to
actually is,
aspire to be a
and
porn star. I mean, there's
and some of it is, and it's not to, this is gonna sound like some people are gonna take umbrage with this. There's a lot of women out here that don't know how to fuck either,
oh no, that's I'd
That's
say
for
that's
sure.
the
Oh yeah.
average actually.
and
Um, but
and
yeah, but go ahead, Grimlock.
what I'm saying, because if she don't know what she's doing, and you don't know, because you always hear that thing, women, men, men, the one thing that we need them for, they're not even good at, is because they want you to go in there and guess, because at least half of them don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you
That's
could
why
just play off the
half of
sounds
them,
coming out of them, right?
Yeah.
not just that, isn't it? Half of them, well, a good bit of them admit to faking even that, so it's like you can't even trust the sound.
Oh no, 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 no. You know when she's faking or not. It's
Yeah.
I know,
quite
but
easy
I'm
to tell.
saying, but there's a lot of guys who don't.
Well,
Right.
then try better. But
It,
I mean, the thing is, I've always seen it as a responsibility, Grimlock, because I mean, as a dude, you can technically finish it unless you push it too far and then you can't. But I mean, you can kind of technically finish anytime you want. But you
Yeah.
have a
oh yeah,
responsibility to her, right? You're supposed to be with this girl because you like her, right? You want her to enjoy as well. I mean, isn't that kind of part of the responsibility?
yes,
Isn't that a male responsibility to get her off? I mean, that's
Well,
yes.
fair play, right?
once you do as well, it's easier to do again. It's just how
Yep.
they work. Once you get them across the finish line once, you can do it again.
Yeah, and it's
And
in
I
their
think,
mind mostly anyway. Women are more mental
yeah,
than men.
and I think Chester, that is, I say it all the time to my wife, and she just laughs. When you see these men have this behavior, I go, oh well, he's clearly just never made a woman come. That's why he's like that.
Yeah, no.
He just
Yeah,
doesn't. He's not
maybe.
capable of it. He's never
Well,
done it. He doesn't know how, and he's coping by over going overboard with other things like oh, women, they matter and we got to do their rights and blah, all that nonsense.
sure.
uh that's why a lot of these men are doing it. Some people get the wrong impression. They think it's just so they can get laid. No, that's not necessarily why. It's because they're overcompensating. That's the term I was looking for their inadequacy. So they think if they do this, then maybe women will like them, but it's just not how the world works.
Well,
The
no, no.
reality of it is, most women, especially good women, they like assholes. They like men who will tell them the truth, even if it hurts their feelings.
No,
That
they
doesn't mean you
do.
got to be mean about
That's
it,
true.
but they want you to be honest with them because they want to know that if somebody comes at them, you're there for them. You're going to
Yeah.
be real. You're going to be there with them. And if you're a coward and you won't tell them the truth, how can they trust that you're going to stand up for them outside of it?
Hmm. Eric, old man,
Yes.
what is your opinion on this, sir?
Oh, geez.
Well, you've
I would
had two
say
wives. You have
I,
experience.
I have. It's not that hard to please a woman.
Not really. No.
I know some of my earlier years when I did last, much longer, 45 minutes, an hour and a half. Some of these women were quite surprised that was possible to happen. I was like, I thought this was normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would say you asked how does America look now as far as soy boys? I'm going to say most of your city population when you're walking around, imagine a Starbucks barista.
Oof.
Yes.
That's what the United States looks like now.
Yeah.
Jesus. That's horrible.
That's why
But
you
yeah,
just stay
no.
out of the cities, Chester.
Yeah,
There's
well,
nothing good over there.
fair
That's
enough.
that way lies madness.
Yeah.
Stay away.
But no, you're right, Eric. As I've gotten older, it's definitely closer to 30 minutes than the hour mark. That's true.
But
Uh,
Grimlock is right about the porn. I think that is desensitized
Yep.
younger generations. They don't understand romance, and
Passion.
yeah, they think sex happens
well,
just like that. I mean,
well,
a girl's gonna drop her pants and take anal. No, that doesn't happen in real life.
no, it does not. Nor should it. No, there's a lot of psychological aspects to it. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, women are different than we are. But I just always took
yeah.
it as a responsibility. Is my point.
No,
It's
well,
my
you're right. I
responsibility.
mean, you should, if like you said, if you like her enough, that you'll take the time to learn what she likes.
Yeah,
And like I said,
pay attention.
because of porn, because it's like Dara said, because of the sitcom tropes, where because that shit's been going on pretty much all me and Thundaro's life. Is like every show, it's
She's
like that.
so
Oh,
unsatisfied. She's never been
you know,
satisfied by her husband. Blah 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 blah, blah all that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
All
I
righty.
mean, that's been going on forever, but um,
A
yeah,
lot of
part
people have taken what they see on television, as far as like the idiot husband, the inadequate husband, and they've turned it into as if it's reality. They think that that is the way the world is, and that's why you see a lot of these women out here, especially young women, who behave that way. They behave like that's what men are. Like the She-Hulk show is replete with it, right? All the men are incompetent idiots who only either want sex or power, and that's it. They don't have any actual human emotion, any empathy, any compassion. They're just sex robots that are, programmed to be powerful and domineering or whatever. Um, and that's obviously ridiculous. But that's where that idea comes from, is the 35 plus years of the culture in America that everybody ingested, which was television, ingraining that into people. You go back to the 50s and 60s, the 60s is really where it started, but the 50s and 60s didn't have that. The men weren't incompetent idiots. They weren't
No,
sex starved or incapable of keeping their
they
wives
had
happy.
huge amounts of responsibilities. What they had.
Yes. And even like you could watch like old westerns and the men were men. They were took responsibility and things like this. So this is a relatively new in the history of our country and our culture, a new phenomenon where the man is constantly denigrated as well inadequate and the woman is elevated as some kind of princess or whatever. And like even in that show, like you said, she wins lawyer of the year or whatever, attorney of the year, and she didn't do anything. She didn't deserve that. uh, it's that kind of nonsense that's been going on for a very long time in media, and it has affected an entire generation of men. They actually think they're supposed to be effeminate, they're supposed to be weak and let their women lead them around, and they expect, because of this, they have the expectation that their sexual prowess doesn't matter, and it does, and it's something you can learn. There's all kinds of places you can actually learn
Just by
how to control
doing.
yourself. You can well, even if you don't have access, let's say you're just one of those guys, but you can still learn so you know how, and then when you get there, maybe you'll have a little bit more knowledge so that you're not embarrassing yourself, because the reality is, men, if you don't know how to handle a woman and please a woman, you're going to embarrass yourself.
Yep.
Whether she
yeah,
says it or not, she's embarrassed by you.
Yeah, they take that
Simple
shit
as that.
seriously. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it
And
is
then
a
she will
response.
find someone who can.
She
that's right.
will. I mean, that's the thing. If you want to keep a woman, then keep a woman.
Yeah,
You have to do so, and it's more than just those things. I mean, it's many things, but that is part of it, dude. And I just don't understand all this nonsense I've been seeing. It's like, and I see some of these dudes coming out and doing their thing and talking. And they'll get into this angle of conversation, which is difficult to do in a non-crass way, I suppose. But they'll
hmm
say, "Look, dude, as a man, you know, if you want a woman, you need to satisfy her, dude. It's important. You need to work on that." It's not just you having being financially stable and healthy and all those other things. It's more. So I don't know. But I have been out of the States effectively for 3 decades, so things have
a long
changed.
time, a long time. Yeah, the soy boy mentality has taken over in a lot of ways. And like I said, you go out in the country, you go out into the smaller cities and smaller towns and more rural places. Not the case at all. But in the big cities, yeah, yeah. The idea of like even growing up in the movies and stuff, the city men weren't presented as weak by any means. They might have been different than country boys, but they were still men,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
that's
look at
true.
like your Godfather movies or whatever. Just pick a movie based in the city. These were still men. They still did manly things, and they were still
Yeah.
expected to be manly, but not anymore. Like a lot of these movies, you've seen it, like you even mentioned it. It's in the media all over that men are just they're not men. There's
Yeah,
nothing
it's weird.
masculine about them. They don't carry themselves with masculine frame or dignity. They carry themselves like pseudo women, and it's gross to me. It's gross to women. Every woman I know when they see that on TV, especially from a man or on a show or a movie or whatever, it turns them off.
Yeah, it definitely
I've even watched women turn the show off. But nah, that's no.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
not doing
Eric, you remember when we were young, there was a movie that came out. I almost want to say it's Woody Allen movie. I don't know if it was, but it had this little scrawny little young Jew boy in it. And he had this girl he really liked, and I guess I don't know if he was going to marry her, he was going to date her, but he wanted to make sure that he could do sex right. Right?
that.
So he went and hired a prostitute, and he went to her over and over and over and over again to practice with the prostitute. And then, of course, the story flipped in the end where he ended up marrying the prostitute because he fell in love with. They fell in love. Do you remember that movie?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah,
It does sound familiar.
it's almost. I almost want to say it's Woody Allen movie. I don't know, but it may be
It
because.
sounds like it'd be a Woody Allen movie, definitely.
Yeah, but especially because the young Jew boy in it reminded me maybe of just a young Woody Allen. But I mean, this is a movie that came out, and the whole premise, was an interesting little twist, I guess, was that he wanted to make sure he was good enough for that girl. Right? And he went about it in a weird way. Or maybe not. Maybe that's the practical way to go about it. Right? But it just strikes my head. But anyway, I got to get on with my day. I got work to do, and I keep looking over my damn shoulder.
All I heard in the last 15 minutes is yet another sound argument for the legalization of prostitution.
That's true.
Yeah, fair. I don't know why it's, it is what it is.
Where did you send this woman to, Chester? This young lady?
I didn't send her anywhere. She needed
banished her into the abyss, or what happened over there?
No. I have a little room that they use for an office, but she's doing her stuff and needs signatures from me.
Yeah, the room closet is the translation. Room closet.
When you need her, what do you say? Because since you don't remember her name, do you just say, "Hey, you"? What?
I just say, "Onegaishimasu."
Oh, she's gonna come running now.
She'll be coming now.
Oh shit! I didn't think about that. God damn it!
Dumbass.
All right, but she seems like a nice lady. I just don't know why she stood behind me for 10 minutes. Just come into my vision, right? Staying quietly in my vision.
Or tap you on the shoulder. Hey.
Well, that's all right. I'll
clear your throat, something. Yeah.
I'll have to get something, right? I'll have to get used to her because I'll have her for a while.
Get a little bell she can wear around her neck.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
There you go.
But because the girl's on, my main secretary's on maternity leave, and she'll be out for quite a while, and I insist upon it, actually. So I'll have to get used to her. Because because she's doing a good job, so it's not like I'm just going to keep replacing with temps. I'll stick with this girl. So anyway, I gotta go. So
get out of here. Get out of here.
So namaste on that. Make sure that you train your secretaries properly.
Namaste on giving women orgasms. That's the namaste.
That too. I mean, well, it's your responsibility as a man. If you're not willing to do that, then stay out of the game, dude.
That's true. Learn, young man. Learn,
dude. I mean, come on.
It's really not that complicated.
No, it's not. It just takes a little effort, a little concentration. Yeah. Anyway, later, guys.